Debate, Uncut, and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Steve, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Shambhala Truth, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, the name's Twirly, Twadwazzle, Rod, the name's Burley, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M-Iron26, Endless, Golden McKiernan, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Uncut, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, man. Man, Nathan, I got a beef with you, bro.
Got beef with me, Steve?
No, that wasn't me,
yeah.
Nathan.
Oh, it's Theo Megawerty saying you've got beef with me. Here we go.
Yeah, you guys were trying to review something the other day. And it came to a part where I was talking about going into these venues to, give good arguments, critique bad arguments, and promote forums. It seems like it was fast forwarded. It sounded like you made it sound like there was a conflict of interest because I was saying, I went into the comments and said, hey, this debate was such and such. Why don't you come back to 24/7? Got fast forwarded. Immediately after the fast forward part, I said, and it flat earth debate.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Well, then I'll take it back.
I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, and that's also the comments that are in the comments over at Tim Pool's right now. It's, hey guys, this debate wasn't really much about flat Earth. Here's some bad points that were made. Here's some good arguments. Why don't you come back to 24/7 flat Earth debate? Same thing when you guys are on our platform.
You don't
right?
have to justify this, right? It seems pretty obvious that you hate Brian. And whenever Brian, as we're listening back to it, whenever Brian talks, you immediately want to disagree with him or talk through him or shut him down. Now, this kicked off with you defending me because Brian wouldn't shut up while I was trying to make a point. And the way you dealt with him, like with anything, when you object, it's always your objection that gets the highlight, right? So you rumpus the living crap out of him because he just wouldn't yield to me. So technically speaking, although I don't think I've aired this previously, you were actually doing that to defend me, right? And then you got nothing but crap for it because of the way you did it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have got crap because you were swearing brutally at him and it didn't help, but I understood the sentiment of why you were doing it, right, in the moment.
Yeah.
Now, by the same token, when they're describing what's going on, because I see your comment, you're listening to exactly what's being said. I get it. I'm trying to placate two people, specifically Adam and Brian, because they're pissed at you. Now, it seems, at least with Brian, he's got a justification personally. Adam less so. He's got a 1 point in regards to the show that you promoted. Bad choice of show, as it turns out, to make this point that I've ultimately always agreed with you on your point.
That's a problem too, because I actually been reviewing this whole thing that's been going on, and there's been many, many errors that you guys have been making, and I've been cataloging them and marking them. And so Adam made it seem to the audience that I told people to go and promote what Witsit said. I never said that, not one time. Every single time you go back and you listen,
That's not what Adam said. You're
Go
misrepresenting
in
it.
there.
Nathan, you're misrepresenting them. These both need to shut up.
Hey, I'm speaking, Neil. Thanks.
Right. A commenter
Okay.
I don't
spoke of
care if you're
this. Right.
speaking
Hold on,
AI.
Neil.
You are
Neil. The
insignificant.
start as we mean to go on.
nothing.
Neil. Right. We don't want it to descend into chaos. Right. And as I explained to a commenter who I think you had actually commented to as well, AI, in regards to why is this descending into chaos? And my answer was, well, sometimes you've got to let these things roll out. That's the first thing. Just trying to stop it will just make it worse. That's the first thing. The second thing is, that's the point of the platform, isn't it?
Right.
So I've got to try and explain to Adam and Brian, look, the doors are going to be open regardless. Now, you being pissed at this guy, bar's open.
Correct.
What do you know? Doors have just opened and here he is. Shocking, isn't it?
Right.
That's the show, though, isn't it?
That's been that way. You go back and listen to it every single time. That was my point. Every single time. This is a venue that is open. Whatever wits it did, like it or hate it, that's what happened. You can go there to where it's happening, to where people are coming, and you can either critique bad arguments, give good arguments. I never said tell people these shorts. I said go to them and make your point. Make the good arguments, make the bad arguments, and invite them back to the forums with the good information. That's what I said the entire time. Now, Adam and Brian and Neil have been saying specific things at specific times. I've been marking them down. And they're going to woefully regret the errors that they made just for their humble pie. And nothing more than that. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm out to get them. It's just going to be to set the record straight. Because I've been impugned and accused for my moral intentions, for my worldview intentions, all of these things. And quite frankly, I listened to Brian tell almost every single person that was supposedly his friends in this panel. He basically called them dishonest, and they're not willing to speak truth because they didn't want to agree with him in every point he was trying to make. He accused all of you.
Not what he said.
It was literally embarrassing to listen to.
Yeah, yes, he's done that multiple times. And again, as much as I'm not asking for any concessions from Brian for doing so, I sit here and just have to let it wash over me to a certain extent. Now, if
You're
we're
going to
off the-
lose your whole
I get it that
On
no
the other
one's
hand-
asking Brian. I get it. No one's asking Brian to concede those points. But why is AI being put up as some kind of villain that's in league with the enemy for when I say things?
Every
about it.
time we played that
That's all I
video
came to
yesterday.
say.
Every
That's
time.
all I came to say. Neil, I have been marking it, Neil, and you'll find out. I'm out of here. Bye.
Yeah. Every time Witsit spoke and somebody went to speak, you just jumped right in. Listen to the video. Come on.
Oh, he's gone anyway. I think he's came in to say stupid anyways. Oh, he's back.
Actually, before I go, the very end of that one episode that's supposed to be aired at Christmas, Adam went on this little spiel about trying to tell you all guys that you got to do something about me. On his read up to that little spiel, Neil, he expressly told a mistruth. Now, I'm not accusing him of lying. You see the difference? I'm just saying he was in error into what he categorized, and it's in the very thing that he said, and it's very easily explained.
Go
Now,
on, then.
notice, Neil, how I'm not accusing him of lying against me. Very interesting, isn't that, Neil?
What was the mistruth he spoke?
He categorized, as you got towards the end of that I told everyone to go and promote what Witsit was doing. I never said that, not one time. I never, and with the clips, like the ping pong golf ball thing, I never said to go show people ping pong golf ball and say, hey, everyone, this is great. You should show these clips to everyone. No, I said go to that location where people are coming and put up a good argument or critique a bad argument or invite them back to our forums, which, by the way, friends, I always say 24/7 and flat earth debates, even though there's a pit in my stomach when I'm typing that in, because I know I'm presently being persecuted in the very forum that I am cross promoting. When you guys were in here doing that
Go
stuff
ahead, way
over
to
the
play the
weekend,
victim, AI.
I was
victim.
doing venue researches. I was doing forum expansions, and I was even talking with my own crew that you guys are more than welcome back to our platforms that we proffered, like politics, even to the point of trying to mix it up because you guys have had dry spots, right?
You
So I'm
threatened to
sitting
tick
here
us out
working
the
for
other day.
everybody in the
Neil.
background while these other guys, right, are trying to assassinate my character, which, by the way, when they do it, it's that fallacy that I love, Nathan, which is the fallacy of the year, I think it's going to be. It's called Bulverism.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis.
What's
Yeah.
the flat earth debate? What's 24/7 called? Give me the whole name of 24/7.
Called
What?
24/7 Flat Earth Discord. That's what it's called.
No, it's flat earth debate Discord.
No, it isn't.
They know it's
No,
a
it's not.
debate.
It's
You
my
didn't put a
platform. You
separation.
think I don't know?
You're
You think
covered
I
up
don't
now.
know
You
what
didn't
it's
say
called,
and
Neil?
flat earth debate. You're so. I can't even trust you no more. We lost Adam.
Hey, what is?
Well
Are
done.
you
Very
dumb,
good.
dude?
You caused a
What
circuit
is
to the
the
point
name
where
of the
Adam is gone now.
24/7 platform, dude? What's the name of it? You're literally trying to tell me that I'm lying about the name of my own platform. Are you retarded, dude?
Is it called 24/7? They know it's a flat earth debate Discord, do they not?
No, Neil, don't
You didn't
banter
put no
on
Oh,
us.
so go
separation.
from what
You
it's
didn't. I'll
called to
go
what they
back and
know it
listen.
is. Good
But you
grief,
didn't
dude.
promote us.
Anyway,
You
Look
didn't
what I got
promote
to
us.
deal with, guys. This is
Trying to tear
laughable.
us apart.
It's clear, dude, that you guys got beef with me because I call your stupid asses out. Neil,
You didn't call
Adam,
nobody out. You are a
Brian.
witch
I
simp,
do
and no
it all
matter
the
what
time,
that kid
dude.
does, you're gonna try and
Look,
protect him.
you're
It's
literally
simple. It's obvious
criticizing
from your
me
video yesterday.
for the name
It's
of the
obvious yesterday.
Discord, dude. What is wrong with you?
Every time he spoke and somebody tried to address him,
Oh my
there was
goodness.
AI. I
Oh my
counted about
goodness. So what does
15
that mean, Neil?
times.
If I
The
speak when
PR
someone else is
man.
speaking, what does that mean, Neil? What does that mean? What does it mean? What does it mean, Neil? Let's go. That's right. You have no idea what it means, Neil.
I have no desire to talk to you. I'm waiting for you to leave.
you're talking to him. You're engaged with him, as it should be. Right, he's got a grievance. Adam and Brian both felt they had a grievance, and I tolerated it, right, for hours. You can't give the guy 5
No,
minutes?
days.
Adam and
Days
Brian
and
are not
weeks,
here.
brother.
Yeah, and AI
I'm
wasn't
not
here when
I'm not
they
here
were
to
airing
talk
their
to them. I'm here
grievances,
to
was he?
talk to Nathan, dude. You see, Neil, me and Nathan, right? We actually go way back too. I was with Nathan in the Hangouts days, right? You see, me and him go back way too. I've been on his platform. I've been cross promoting his platform on 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, which is what it's called, by the way. It's been called that forever.
What is it though? Is it not a debate Discord? Do you not
Neil,
debate flat earth?
why won't you let this go? Right, just let it go. Right, you got it wrong. So what? It's not that big a deal, but now you're making it a big deal. The point here is, yeah, when someone's got a grievance, regardless of how it started and how it's escalated, they're going to get to air it. Now, Adam, on the other hand, as unreasonable as it is to me, I just ducked out and kept my mouth shut while he was putting unreasonable demands on QE. He's put QE in a position, I don't know if this was after the recording yesterday, where he's saying, look, you haven't pointed out the lie. You keep saying there's a lie. You haven't pointed to it explicitly. You've told me to
Correct, because
do
there
my
is
own
no lie.
research.
That's why, dude.
Right.
There never was a lie. You go back and listen to it, and you will find out that Adam, and I'm not even going to accuse him of anything malevolent. Let me tell you why, Nathan. I agree, and I usually vie on the side of Hanlon's razor, which is always to attribute that somebody's in error or incompetent rather than they have malicious intent. So Adam may be, thinking he's correct. Look, but he said something wrong and he accused me of a lie. And we're still today, and not one person has been able to show proof of any lie.
All right, so let me ask you a question. How do we rectify this? Because I asked you personally.
This is rectifying it.
I told you, Neil. They are trying to assassinate my character through Balver's tactics. And now that I've allowed them to operate without me being present and allowed them to put their foot in their mouth, I got it all on recording, dude. And the only way out of this is for them to realize that they need to apologize to me. It's really that simple. And I don't even care if they apologize to me, because I'd rather they apologize to their friends who, in the midst of this, they accused constantly. Elijah, you don't speak the truth. You're changing history. Yada yada yada. Chocolate, same thing, and on it goes with them, and with Brian specifically impugning his own friends because they wouldn't agree. You just bow down to his feelings. Okay, that's it. Okay, you know what I have to apologize for, Neil, if anything, is being a generally cantankerous asshole. Okay, yeah, we all know that. No mystery.
Well, in your defense, if
Or no,
Brian gets to say, yes, I interrupt,
what I got.
we know what
Yeah,
your
cool,
attitude is
cool.
generally like, AI, right? And the same goes for Brian. But when it came up that Brian, yeah, I know I interrupt, but everyone knows I'm like that. Like that's an excuse. Now, I'm not suggesting that you being cantankerous, as you put it, is in any way more or less in need of an excuse like Brian gave one. Yeah, people know who you are and how you behave. Same goes for Brian. Now, when there's heads
There's a
clashing,
difference, Nathan. There's a very big difference, Nathan. Very huge, major difference.
what's the difference?
Is when I come to critique this panel, at any moment, at any time, anyone who's ever had a beef with me, I've never campaigned against them as being like some kind of enemy agent. I always just said, you're being a fuck cunt or something like that. It never rose to trying to create this background campaign against somebody. My against them was always me present saying, hey, dude, you're literally talking through Nathan. Why don't you shut your fucking retard cunt mouth? You see the difference?
No, I
Versus
get it.
AI is working with Witsit and sucking his dick on the weekends.
Yes,
See the difference
I
yet?
get it. Yes, I get it. There's a high degree of paranoia. You don't have to labour the point. I get it. I'm watching it happen. I'm here listening to it.
Well, you did tell us that wait till you get into the whole video and it's going to get better, and it did not. So what the hell?
Oh
I
my
got a
goodness,
question.
dude.
What you
What did I
consider
actually
good
say,
flat earth
Neil?
debate?
Neil, what did I actually say, Neil? Neil, what did I actually say?
I haven't watched it all yet.
Yes. In content of what? That the flat earth content was mentioned. Listen, Neil, I actually talked to QE prior, because remember, QE said AI is the one who said, let's promote this, critique this video, right? That's what Quantum Eraser said. Guess why? Because I wrote to him and said, hey, look at this nonsense. And I had a complete list of notes from it in which I categorized with a general timestamp and even infographics where everything occurred. I was never expecting great flat earth arguments and expositions, even in the stuff, which by the way, I sent QE in DMs before the show even occurred. None of which is in there telling that there's great flat earth coming down the pike, dude. It's that it's mentioned. It's that the arguments are proffered. And then you guys agreed that they were, but weren't fleshed out, which is exactly what I said. And then I said, well, this is the bag we have. Why don't we go there and critique the bad arguments that are made, which, by the way, I've done, and then put forth good arguments, which, by the way, I've done, and invite people back to forums like 24/7 and Flat Earth Debate Discord, which are two separate discords. That is this Discord we're in now, which is called Flat Earth Debate, and then 24/7, which is called 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, of which we also proffer venues over in politics, of which we invite you guys freely to come over, right? So if I was out to get all you guys, why would I be inviting you over to a platform I curate, for goodness sake?
So you can get
It's
us.
called Nathan Oakley 1980 Flat Earth Debate.
No,
You didn't say that.
stick to the point. The
Whoa,
problem is
you
there's
sure
not
about
enough.
that, dude?
Hold on, Neil.
That's
There's not
not the
enough.
name of this Discord, dude.
Hold on,
This
Neil.
Discord is named Flat Earth Debate, Neil, in case you didn't notice.
Okay, the Discord server aside, Neil, it's been the fourth time I've asked you to please drop that. Yeah? Pours it out, explains the situation, and all you've got to say is the server name. Oh my god, okay.
Now check this out, Nathan. I just want to point this out. He is correct that in my comments that I did promote, I only invited people back to the Discords, primarily because I'm a Discord guy.
That's right.
My larger sphere of influence that I operate in. Okay, so it's perfectly okay for someone
that's
else, let's
fine.
say from your panel, who, by the way, both me and you, Nathan, encourage to go to videos that we critique to do cross promotion.
Yes, that's
To
where I was
say,
going
hey,
next.
Nathan Oakley, 1980 sent me specifically. So Neil can perfectly go there and do that by himself if he so desires.
Right. So what's the issue here? Right. This is exactly where. Perfect segue. Thank you so much. So, given that is something we do almost daily, why is it in this instance? It's nothing to do with you encouraging us to go to this specific video to do basically what we do all day long every day anyway. So why is it that in this instance suddenly there's blood spilled everywhere? Well, because Witsit's involved. Like that's credit to QE.
Bingo.
Right. QE
Bingo.
identified it as we were going through it in the middle of it. I distinctly remember it being QE who identified, no, this is, yes, you're at each other's throats. It's because there's not enough flesh to slash at from Witsit. Because he's the only unifying, what's the word? Common factor with this particular tete-a-tete between everybody. There's been a fallout. Why?
Yeah.
Well, it's not enough of Witsit to get your teeth into. But he is
Fair enough.
ultimately
And
the
guess
cause
what,
of all
Nathan? Guess what, bro? A lot of people have it upon themselves that they're going to be the dragon slayer, that they're going to be the ones to take down the great villain Witsit, and they have this in their heads. Okay. Meanwhile, what I'm trying to do is get people to go to a venue which is popping off in the trending right now, and put our forums there. So when people come, either now while it's trending, or 3 months from now when they're coming back looking from other forums and they find Tim Pool, they're gonna find X Spaces. They're gonna find Tim Pool there. They're gonna search Tim Pool. They're gonna get Tim Pool's YouTube, and if they're doing anything with Flat Earth, especially right frickin' now, by the way, they're gonna find what I hope is not just Witsit by himself. I hope they find segues back to the good content.
Yes.
God forbid, what a crime, what a sin.
No. It's perfectly valid, and it's what we do regularly, daily. It's the whole point of me saying at Nathan Oakley, you've identified it. I get it. The problem is when they get there, and it's Witsit doing a terrible job. If it was rando, in other words, the exact same words were said, the transcript didn't change, but the person sat with them wasn't Witsit, none of this would have happened.
Yep. I want you to imagine, Nathan, I want you to imagine it was Brian. Do you think I'd be any different? I'd be like, hey,
No,
guys,
I don't think
if you don't like what he said, go in the comments and make critiques of the bad arguments, promote the good arguments, and invite them back to your forums. Oh,
Sure.
my goodness. You know what, though, Nathan? And this is what pisses me off about this whole thing.
In principle, your point is absolutely sound.
I'm never going to see someone who is of better quality than Witsit in that seat unless guys like Brian get that shtick out of their head. And those types of things are what make my blood boil.
Yeah, it can't be out.
Okay.
Like I say, it cannot be out. To a certain, I've managed to stay my disdain for the response video because I've had it out with Witsit personally. I've managed to yell at him personally. Now it's miles better. You know what I mean? I can just tell him
Think
how
about
I feel.
it this way, friend. Think about it this way. My general assessment of Witsit is that his ethos within his worldview is Antichrist, right? So he is a worldview enemy to me. You understand?
Well, they think you're his best
Why would I
mate.
ever be in
They think
league
you're
with
his
him?
friend. They think you want to promote him and you're shilling for him and you're his PR.
But Nathan, you know why that is? It's because they're stupid.
I don't do that because they're going to listen to this now and go, well, he just thinks we're stupid and so it goes on.
What I'm telling you, Nathan, is in the instance when they're trying to make that reasoning, that is horrible reasoning.
It is.
But guess what I wouldn't do?
No, that'll agree
I
with.
wouldn't accuse them. I wouldn't accuse them
Hold on, Neil.
of having some kind of overarching malicious intent sleeping with the enemy just because they're making stupid plays, right?
Stupid statements, yes. They're not stupid, but their judgment's been clouded. And I'll reiterate it again because I'm back in QE and I completely agree. It is clouded by an individual who just musters a lot of disdain in anything that we're going to be doing around him.
That's fair. I understand that, but it's also clouded by another individual, and that's me. Because rest assured, I've put shots across their bow in the past. So there's a common interest to take me on and take Witsit on and connect the two of us to get attention to me by proxy of Witsit as well.
Maybe.
Okay,
Hey,
that's not lost on me.
hold on. I asked him, well, why don't you just establish that Earth is flat right from the beginning of the debate? Witsit didn't even say nothing. You came in and started questioning me on where and when have I debated, and what shows have I been on. Now, why was that?
Yes,
Why
Neil.
did you
You know
just
what my
not
point is? I'll
allow
tell you, Neil.
Witsit
I'll
to
tell you,
answer the
Neil. I'll tell
question?
you the
Let him
answer,
answer.
bro. You asked me. I'll tell you. Okay, Neil. You are in this panel. That's true. But as far as I know, Neil, you've never been in any kind of debate where you're not with your panel, where you're not the
That
fish
was
out of the
not
water,
for you
where you're
to
not the guy in the
answer.
hot seat, right? So I don't have what I'm trying to tell you, Neil, is I don't have a metric of performance of how you would react in those very situations. For all I know, you're going to be twiddling your thumbs, nervous, and pee your pants. How would I know?
Did I ask the question to AI? I asked the question to Witsit, and you jumped right in to freaking defend him or back him or
Because
whatever.
you
Listen to yesterday's
all have
video.
set a
AI,
tone in the
just listen
past,
to
dude.
yesterday's
That's
video,
why.
and
Hold
you'll
on,
get a
AI.
better
It's not a
flavor of
vacuum,
who the
Neil.
frick you
That's
Hold
are.
on,
why.
just both of
Yes,
you
I've
stop for
been
a sec. Just
listening
both
to
of
the
you
video,
stop. Just
Neil.
one sec. So
I do my homework, Neil.
hold on, just a sec. I think the issue that Neil's trying to get through to you, or ask you about rather, AI, is not in regards to your motivation. It's the defense of Witsit when he's had a specific question put to him. Now, I have given my reasoning, but I am intrigued because when I justify it, because, well, Witsit's on his own and everybody's baying for blood. So at that point, AI's put his arm around him, so he hopefully doesn't immediately tuck tail and run because he's got 50 people pouncing on him. So he's got at least some semblance of a
That would be,
wingman.
yeah, that right there, Nathan, would be a
No, I just
legitimate
started.
reason.
I was
wouldn't
one of
it?
the
No,
first
that was
questions.
my...
Even
Neil.
if that wasn't the reason,
Neil, that was my reason, though. What's your reason?
Hey, Neil, this is called a hypothetical. Okay.
What's your reason? That was my hypothetical reading between the lines guess. But what is the actual reason that you were his wingman?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm not his wingman. There you go.
No, acting as his wingman. In defence of this question that Neil's asked you, the only perception, given that you've justified your feelings rather than how your actions got between a question that was being asked to Witsit, therefore I'm saying, well, you know, you've batted away an awkward question. That's like a wingman.
Yeah. So the point with that is just like he did explain, right? And a lot of people, by the way, including yourself, Quantum Eraser, even Brian and Adam, all agreed at various times in the critique that you guys were doing that Witsit didn't act this way, but he also had an atmosphere within that context that he had to navigate through, right? And because
Okay.
Witsit has navigated those contexts, right, he at least has an ability to talk about it. But I've never seen Neil in any of those contexts, right, where he is in a debate like that and he has to make his choices about how he's going to interact with the panel that he's with that isn't a home panel, so like if
I
you got
see.
Tim across from you, you got this other guy across from you, you got the other guy across from you, you kind of have to be tactical with what you're going to say. You can't just say whatever you want whenever you want, and that may look, that's all personal preference, because when you're in the battle, when you're in the hot seat, it's a different mode of thinking. Everyone can say this is exactly what I would do and exactly how it would play out, but until
I
you're
asked the
there,
question to Witsit,
yeah,
not to
you really
you.
don't know. What's that?
He just wants to know why
I
you were
asked
protecting
Witsit a
Witsit from
question
that.
and you
That's a great
answered.
answer.
It happens 10
Hold on,
times.
Neil. Let me just try and get it out of him. That's a great answer and fine. But Neil just wants to know why you've put that barrier and that answer now between Witsit giving that answer potentially, because he didn't get to. If you don't know, that's fine.
Yeah, because maybe I don't remember at the moment, but it's the same thing with guys like Brian. Like, he talks all this smack about if he was in these forums, he would do A, B, and C. And meanwhile, I'm scratching my head. It's like, Brian, nobody's inviting you to the forums, and you're not showing up to them either. So like you shoulda, woulda,
He would
coulda.
disagree.
Well, guess who I'm stuck with in the seat, guys?
I don't know.
Guess who's there, bros?
He would disagree, though.
Guess who we're all stuck with, guys?
Hold on, I just want to make a correction, because I understand your position because he's not there. That's fact. But in terms of his efforts to try and get there, he does far more than I. He's much more proactive. Me, I'm not. I'm totally reactive in that regard. And half the time, I'm turning them down. When people contact me, I assess them,
Yeah, exactly.
try and get in touch, try and build a bit of rapport. And normally, that's actually the reason I turn them down, because I fail to take those few steps. I don't build any rapport with them. In other words, they're standoffish, and I go, I already know where this is going to go. Yeah? Now, when I hear things like, I was told by the host that I need to sort out an opponent, when Witsit told me that, I'm like, did that come third hand from Alex? Because it sounds like when I'm given that kind of information about the communication Witsit's built up with this guy, he hasn't built a new contact with him, has he? Right? There's a buffer between.
Hey, guess what, Nathan? Did you know? Let me give you a factotum that you may not know in regards to that.
Good.
And I didn't know it as well till it wasn't timely. That McToon was already privy to that information. McToon got the information that Witsit was on the hook. Okay, so essentially what happened was Witsit was on the hook to curate the panel, right? Because Stein really wasn't up to the task. Homeboy with the hat. Oh man, fuck. Tim Pool gave Alex Stein basically, hey Alex, you get the panel for this. And Alex is like, okay. I mean, I guess I'll ask Witsit since he knows the players, right? So Tim Pool pawned it off on Stein. Stein pawned it off on Witsit. Witsit then started asking people to show up. And like in the video, if you go back, you'll see that whether it's true or not, he said he contacted like 20 people that he knew of to come. None of them did. They didn't want to show up to Tim Pool. And I said, you know what? If that's an interesting point, if these guys are willing to talk big when they're being, anti-flat earthers in like, FTFE, that's one thing, right? Because they're, you know what I mean? Like if you're going to FTFE to be an anti-flat earther against a flat earther, that's a different venue than being an anti-flat earther or even maybe a glober in a more respectable forum. And so some of them might have been scared to show up to Tim Pool because then they'd actually have to be in the public sphere on account for what they say and the stupid arguments they make.
Absolutely.
Right?
They're not in their own little echo chamber anymore. Right?
Suddenly exactly. Now, guess what? Yep, we both agree with that. That's how Wixit characterized it. That's how I characterized it. But somebody else characterized it that I was saying the flat earthers were scared to show up. No, I wasn't saying that at all.
I didn't hear that. I knew what you meant.
I know, Neil. Some people,
just to carry on with your point.
Some people hear
principle.
I just want to finish the sentence. Some people hear with what they want to hear. Go ahead, bro.
In principle, your point again is absolutely valid. What you're saying is it's interesting that the anti-flat earthers, the ones that accuse me of having a mute button, things of that sort of nature, are actually the ones projecting their own echo chamber that they don't want to leave. Now, I'll leave when it suits me. I'm not going to be pressured into where I go or when I go there by anybody. I couldn't give a crap what you think or feel about it. No offense to anybody listening. But it's telling when Witsit supposedly has gone around to these guys and gone, do you want to come onto this forum as my opponent? And he's had Zip in reply and then scraped the barrel with Astronomy Live and, I don't know, Sungenis suddenly got through into the mix. He did vaguely allude to that being an afterthought that happened without him knowing. But regardless, we've ended up with, okay, Astronomy Live. Well, okay, if McToon was approached and didn't want to go onto this forum, you ask yourself why. Well, I already know why. What they call, and we've been joking about it for years, a neutral platform isn't a neutral platform. Yep. It's their platform that's biased. We've been saying this forever. But when they actually get to what you could consider to be a neutral platform, you've got Alex, who's got a vague interest in flat earth, and you've got Tim Pool, who's got a vague interest in maybe anti-flat earth, but neither of them are capable of having a massive discussion and debate as a show. They need other people there. Well, okay, who are we going to get to do the other people bit? Well, it's going to be around two people who have got no time or tolerance on a 1 million+ subscribed platform for people screaming and yelling at each other from the anti-flat earth side or the flat earth side. Now, Witsit wants to use that occasionally, subtly, with a stick to beat us with. But you're pointing out, no, It's far worse on the anti-flatty side. These guys don't want to know unless they're on their echo chamber platform with their mute buttons. Because when they're just sat in a studio, that ain't going to fly. Not at all.
Yep. Yeah, it's a totally different league when you're in that league. You can't be your typical Glober, kind of self. Just ain't gonna fly.
I've done it. I've done that platform. I did it for Vice. So Vice had me back. They just never published the piece that they did. So they did something called a year in review after they'd done I don't know what the series was. They had a whole bunch of crazy people doing crazy things. The guy before me on the video before me was a Tantra guy. I only mention him because he was there at the year in review, along with an ethical hacker and all sorts of other crazy characters that they'd done interviews with over the season, one of which was me. And we'd just basically sat like exactly the same format as Tim Pool's, right? In a lit studio, around a desk, all just talking at each other about the events of the year, what we found interesting. And that was it. We went away after the fact. I'm like, when's it coming out? They're like, the editor doesn't like the way it flowed. We're not going to put it out. I was like, oh, bummer. That was a waste of time. But nevertheless, the point is that in terms of the setting and what it was identical. And you are right. How you can cope and how you handle yourself in those settings isn't something that you can bank on with just any old Joe Blogs. Now, you use Brian as an example. I'm going to use Joe Blogs as an example. You don't know how Joe will do. He might pee his pants when he gets in the bright lights of a studio setting with a camera pointing at him and a director telling the host, you need to pick up the bleeding energy, man. Come on. What are you, drunk? And you're going, bloody hell, I don't want to get shouted at. That's literally what happened in this particular instance. They brought some guy in. When he got there, I was like, who's this trampy-looking, stinky guy that's eating crisps over my shoulder? Ugh. And then suddenly it turns out he's the host of the show in this video. But the directors...
Good thing you did it.
Well, I was like, yeah. Anyway, this guy, this kind of slobby bloke, starts doing his intro. Welcome to a year in review. My name's blah, 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 and I've got all the people from the... Stop, says the director. Where's the energy? Come on, pick it up. So he does it again in the exact same monotone voice. She stops him again. And so it continues. You're like, bloody hell. And they're not mucking around at Vice. This stuff's costing money to be in there.
Yeah. Just like when Tim Pool opened it up, he goes, hey, somebody told me that I should send Alex Stein, pay $30,000 to do such a thing. So I polled my audience. My audience actually said, yeah, sure, send them. So it's like, hey, bro, I'll send you. I'll pay $30,000. But he had to get like the investment from his audience that it was worth his time to involve himself in the topic, right? And so we did get a fielding on his forum because of it. Like it had ripples where because of the segue link we got from Tim Pool to the topic, to the final experiment, to Alex Stein, to Witsit being on his show, to Flat Earth being mentioned on his show, to the good information and our venues mentioned by proxy. So that's like what, four degrees of separation.
Yeah, that's where it all falls apart, because that's where we typically get involved, and there's been no build up to the result. You're like, well, what's in it for me is anybody's question when it comes to this sort of stuff. Everyone's selfish. So they go, well, what's in it for me? And then they go and look at Witsit doing an awful job and don't see it for what you want them to see it and what it really is, which is, well, as you described it, by proxy, they can get some information in the comments and hopefully see venues that they can pick up this information in a better way. Yeah. Right? Yeah, I get it.
So there was
but there's so much blood. I'm nearly there. There's so much blood in the water that when they get there and see Witsit not doing a good job, everyone's blood boils and their judgment becomes clouded. And the overspill is a massive row internally.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, but guess what? It's not everyone. Okay, because the guys in the 24/7 crew and in our back chats and our background warriors who do a lot of work that nobody ever gets to see, they're doing their best to take advantage of it, as best as they can. We've already had meetings over the weekend.
Pissed?
We've already had people.
That's a new question. Sorry to interrupt.
That's my question.
Aren't they pissed?
Go ahead.
Don't they feel like they put in all this work? They're posting the links, they're building the channels, they're managing the Discord, they're moderating the people, they're managing the relationships, and then some tosser Witsit does an awful job. Aren't they pissed?
Well, yes, but we've also been aware that certain people have been the most forward-facing, promoted people, that are attached to our community, and we've always had to deal with them in that manner. Like it's not new that a lot of times all the venues get the worst people, like they get David Weiss, right? They get these other, like that's been a constant, I think. Only in the very beginning was it that some of the good guys were able to get some of these things right, and it was more spread out, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Shambhala.
Shambhala?
How are you?
I went to a Shambhala festival once. It was called Shambhala, and it was music and people juggling and fire and all that sort of usual stuff that you'd have at a festival. It was just called Shambhala. I vaguely remember someone recovering recently using that word for something. What was it? Remind me, Sensual, as you've obviously remembered this word.
It was a cavern within the earth that Admiral Byrd accidentally flew into.
Admiral Byrd flew into it. Yes, this is all starting to ring bells. Some numpty that we covered suggested that Earth had an area that could be accidentally flown into, called Shambhala, accidentally discovered by Byrd. Yeah, who was it that we were covering that covered this utter tripe? This is such a load of nonsense.
It was the cult leader on YouTube channel OSM Visions.
Oh, it's the two black guys from Birmingham. Yeah.
Correct.
I reckon they're from literally the exact same neck of the woods that I'm born and raised in. Moseley Sparkhill. I could tell by the twang. I could be wrong about that. They're going to come back and go, no, we're from somewhere else, Anyway.
What's crazy is he has tens of thousands of subscribers and his videos get thousands of views and he talks absolute nonsense. And here we talk about measurements. And why aren't people interested in measurements, Nathan? Why do they all want fantasy and nonsense?
I'll give you my answer to the best of my ability, right? There is a paved road, metaphorically speaking, that leads numpties who are conspiratards to the subject of flat Earth. From that point, once they've found out Earth is flat, they do not focus on things like measurements. Now, when I say they, I mean me and everybody around me, it would seem. I am just as guilty. I got here looking at subliminal messages and psychopathy. Yeah? So I can't really say that it's any more or less my fault than anybody else's. But having got here, did I look for measurements? No! I wanted the root of the lie. I started interviewing people, the most interesting ones being people who were telling me about the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church and the people who invented heliocentrism. And, that was the bit that intrigued me. How did this lie come to fruition? Yeah? Like everybody who comes. So my path was conspiratorial in nature, not measurement-based. 10 years later, we're talking about measurements and decrying all around us who don't. Because that's perfectly reasonable, given 10 years of total tardia from me and everyone around me. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be plenty of people who join the panel today hearing this live probably going, oh no, I didn't do that. And you're like, yeah, okay, I can list at least 2 subjects that are conspiratorial that you've been involved in, right? And that is the path that leads to flat Earth. So what goes in comes out, garbage in, garbage out. So if you put conspiratards at the helm, you're going to get conspiratard nonsense out about the subject rather than measurements. Now, had the notion of a flat Earth been put on the doom scroll shorts, videos and TikToks that architects were watching, there's a good chance that they would have looked at this in a very different way than the people who are figuring out what 9/11 truth might be out there on the internet. You know what I mean? So the way the information's been propagated means that we now have a load of conspiratards talking about the subject, which puts a very, very shady light over the subject. Shady light is probably not a good metaphor. A shady disposition about flat Earth in general. People think we're idiots because we talk about a lot of idiot stuff that's conspiratorial. So what a surprise. So when it comes to us, the little tiny tadpoles in a massive giant lake that are screaming from the corner, shouldn't we talk about measurements? And trying to sort of go in a bold way to the rest of the tiny little colony in the corner of the lake that we happen to reside in that are talking about flat Earth and say, shouldn't we be talking about measurements rather than ether or Bigfoot? And we're told, just be nice. Like, we're all hippies here. Peace and love. And ether and Bigfoot. What do you mean measurements? Bloody hell. People want fantasy here. And we're fighting a losing battle against the people that surround us. Now, the rest of society, because this is probably an ongoing thing, have, over the generations, also been led to the misapprehension that the people in a subject called Flat Earth are all demented conspiratards, because that's obviously been an ongoing endeavour. Now, to separate that from the people, I just look at Earth and go, it is flat, and how many numpties talking about the subject in irrelevance with conspiratardia doesn't change or alter how Earth is measured, how it functions, and what it is. Even if every last one of us was dead tomorrow, Earth would still be flat. So what we're left with is just poisoned minds that we could, if we chose to, try and leach the poison back out of. But that's very, very, very difficult. So in the meantime, I guess we are doing what we're doing for the very, very, very small percentage of people who get here and go, I really just want to know if Earth's flat or not. And if they're lucky enough to find us, they'll hear about the measurements, know it's flat, and then recognise that being a flat earther is probably not a good idea, because being a flat earther as a person, rather than recognising the measurements of Earth being flat, isn't something that's good in societal terms. Was that an answer to the question? I've forgotten what the question is. I waffled on for so long.
Yeah, I was waiting to get
Can you repeat it all again?
or answer.
Hey, Righteous.
I just want to say something quick. I didn't come into the conspiracy route. I came in through watching Star Wars, people reviewing Star Wars and stuff like that. That was my end. Though I do believe in conspiracies, right?
It's not that there's going to be... You're looking at it too black and white. I wasn't looking at psychopathy or subliminal messaging when Flat Earth got played to me. But by virtue of looking generally... You from the time of certain Windows programs, they were leeching your personal information and logging what you were interested in so they could better advertise to you. So they're going to present, and in the case of YouTube, they just want to keep you on the site. So based on that, they're like, well, Flat Earth is going to be what these guys want. So it doesn't mean that you've happened to have just watched whatever conspiracy you happen to have been interested in 6 months prior, and then Flat Earth's immediately delivered in the next video. I'm saying that algorithmically, they've gathered enough information on a certain type of person, and you've immediately proved me right, because you went, well, I am predisposed to a conspiracy or two. I like them. Right? Well, that means that you're going to have shown those tendencies when they're gathering up your information and scraping it about you. So when you got presented Flat Earth, it hit the mark, right? They did a good job of screening you and presenting you what you wanted.
Nope. Wrong.
You're going to tell me that you braced against it,
when they started showing me FE, I started avoiding it like the plague.
Yeah, but okay, that's fine too, because you can become an anti-Flat Earther. That's no problem. There's a wider picture that's beyond what you ended up being here, Righteous.
But I think the main point is, regardless of how we got here, the main point is that I wanted to get across is that people that are conspiratorial, they do seem a lot more receptive to FE. And
yeah, because it's presented as a
yes,
because it's presented as a conspiracy when it's not.
When I heard John Sheldon yesterday talk, I got reminded to how he said it took him like at least a year or more until he's seen it. And I was going to say quickly, but I didn't get the chance to say if you were a conspiracy person, you would have got it quicker.
Hey, well, got
That's
what?
I was going to say yesterday.
Got what? What was to get? Between 10 years ago and now. When we heard that guy that Patricia Steer and Mark Sargent had, or DJ Shadow or something, right? That guy was waffling on about evidence that people would get, like you've just said. But when it came to actually offering some substance to it, there wasn't any. In his instance, he was presenting a rebuttal to the Black Swan and saying refraction. Like, that was some argument that the only bits that got discussed on Wits It Show that had sunk into him when he's saying people should take this in if only they were capable of taking the red pill, but they immediately decry it. Like, Next Breath is his example, and it's refraction. Like, what was there between 10 years ago and now that people could just accept and understand, as you put it, Righteous?
I wouldn't agree with that, because what gets people for the penny to drop could be vastly different from people to people. So you can't say one argument rules them all.
Correct, brother. Correct. For example, I just want to point this out to people, as much as it's going to piss some people off. But the first foray, some people who are coming to this topic now, because keep in mind, every topic isn't fully saturated. As circles of separation and segues of inclusion close to where new people are coming into the topic, as much as we don't like it, some of the first information they're going to get is going to be from the Tim Pool debate. And because of Tim Pool, and because of the connections, and because of Elon Musk, and because of Twitter, and because of all these other connections that exist, that is going to be how they find their way to flat Earth, as taking it seriously in any way, shape, or form. And that may be the way that they find themselves to our forums and our groups, to where they become a flat earther. So as much as this is going to suck for some people, with its endeavor onto that platform, it's actually going to create flat earthers in the future.
How wonderful. Meanwhile, Earth is what it is, as I was saying at the end of the pre-show. Regardless of the...
No, he's gonna. What is gonna happen is he's gonna have a bunch of ether believers. That's what you get with him. You don't get flat Earth.
No, I disagree. So, as I didn't actually draw this comparison in the pre-show about Vice, but in terms of the sudden increase that I got, I didn't get some massive influx of people coming to me off the back of the Vice video. Now, that's not to say that me talking about flat Earth in a coherent way on the Vice video didn't mean that people had a start to their journey, but they didn't immediately go to me. Yeah? And I compared it yesterday or the day before in that vein with Witsit. You've got Witsit out endeavouring to increase his popularity, perfectly reasonable. But just by being on the Tim Pool podcast doesn't suddenly mean Witsit per se will have a massive influx of subscribers. But as AI just pointed out, there will inevitably be people who come to the subject as a result of just hearing it through that. Even if they don't suddenly, like I was comparing with Righteous earlier, don't have the immediately link, it doesn't mean that just because they've listened to Tim Pool's podcast, they'll start typing in Flat Earth and looking for it and become a Flat Earther the next day. It might be 6 months later, it's just suddenly there's a seed planted, as much as I hate to use those terms. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Speaking of which, as we have got a live show on the subject of Flat Earth debate, I will ask a couple of housekeeping questions. Fortunately for you all, I have asked a full series of them in the last week, so we won't get all of them today. I'm sure you'll be delighted. But I will ask the most important question. Is there any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
Simple answer is no.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? A reflected. I'll take that as a no. Alrighty, we've got a video to cover today. Shout out to Sensual Goat. It is called Help Me Prove Whether the Earth is Flat or Round, Part 2, #Flat Earth. And it's by a channel called Delta Time. So, as is always the case, and it's not Witsit this time, so no one's going to fall out on the panel as a result of me sharing this link and asking you to promote the show on it. But please let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice, polite, non-sweary comment that doesn't immediately get flagged by the YouTube bots and removed, or not passive-aggressive so that the videographers themselves see the need to immediately remove your comment from their video. But just a polite comment that alludes to the fact that we have responded to their video. With at Nathan Oakley 1980, all one word, without any gaps, sent me, so that they know where to find this video, and they can listen to what we critique them on, as we have listened to them in response. So, as you can see, I've put it up on screen. There is a link to the Delta... Is it Delta or Data? Can't quite see it in my 4K projector distance. Data team, is it? Or
Data Time.
Is it Delta?
Data Time.
How do you spell it?
DATA.
It's an A. I can't see it. This looks like an E with my blurry vision. Data Time. Okay, so go and check them out. Let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a rude No, not a rude, sorry, with a polite, not rude comment. And yeah, hopefully they'd do the same for me if they were to make a response. Having watched our video, you'd hope they'd put a link to my video saying, oh yeah, check it out, this video guy made a video about us, here's our response to him. And they'd put a link to this video if they were to respond. Chance would be a fine thing. How big are they? 63 subs, 63k. So they're a reasonable size channel, bigger, slightly bigger than us. Not massive, but not small either. So I'm sure they'd be very grateful, like I would be, of comments coming my way. And, you know, that generally helps you up the YouTube algorithm and the algorithmic love that we definitely don't receive from YouTube. Everybody's grateful for when they get comments appearing and likes appearing and, you know, some other segue in YouTube's web of linking them to another video that gets them more views. So I'm sure they'll be delighted with your comment, and hopefully me waffling on about leaving a comment saying at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me has actually given somebody in the live stream, at least one of you, the opportunity to disappear and not miss anything when you come back. So yeah, that's why I keep these calls to action relatively lengthy while I'm doing a live show, so that you do actually do it if you're watching live now, and there's 72 of you watching right now, so please actually do this. I'm not saying it for my health. I'm saying it for the algorithmic love that Data Time will receive when you go and leave them a comment right now. I think that's enough waffle. Did I do that for long enough? I think so. I haven't actually sound checked this yet. Oh no, I think I did before we started recording. Okay, so we'll start right from the beginning because these guys get right into it. Unless there's any preamble from you, Sensual.
Just that they will talk about materials that they're using at some point. A bit too much. You might want to just press skip there, Jay, across that.
Just pipe up when it comes. It's not a very long video. It's only 11 minutes, so you never know. We might get it done by next week sometime.
We need your help to prove whether the Earth is flat or round. In my last video, we looked at how ancient scientists were able to measure the size of the globe by just using...
Oh, there we go. Straight away, we're into... No, it's not a debate. No, you need no answer beyond the measurements of Earth, which are flat, and ancient scientists, they are not. This is not cause and effect reasoning based on hypothesis. It will be based on, what, 9 seconds... based on a flat Earth measurement that we're going to get to shortly, won't it? We're going to need some angles. I only played 9 seconds of this before we started recording, and I'm like, this is going to be great.
Sticks and shadows. We then compare that to what those shadows should look like in the flat Earth model. You can't measure the shape of the Earth with nonsense sticks and shadows.
No, correction, you can't measure a globe with elevation angles off a curved surface, but you will be using angles that have a flat Earth as a prerequisite to achieve them. They're all on a flat baseline, they're angles. Everyone, without exception, measures Earth flat. These two guys, they measure Earth flat too. And now, there might be globe believers, we don't really know that just yet. But regardless, they're going to be measuring Earth flat. Why? Because Earth's flat, and that's how we measure it. If you want anything to be practically applied to a measurement of Earth, it'll be flat, because that's what Earth is. Flat.
I think I can. In this video, I'm going to show you my best attempt to build a cheap contraption that makes it easy for anyone on Earth to measure their latitude using nonsense sticks and shadows.
You mean elevation angles with respect to Polaris? Go ahead, whoever that was from G+.
Nah, you said latitude, and I said, uh-oh.
Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for latitude. You're going to be measuring an angle with respect to a flat baseline to the star known as Polaris, as he just detailed. Now, he keeps decrying these nonsense sticks and shadows. No, we're talking about elevation angles, right? What we go through on a regular basis, because it's a flat Earth prerequisite in the measurement. It's the only measurement that's going to be taken in this example, and we will all need a flat Earth for it.
Anyone? Yes. And by the end of this video, I'll show you how you can help me measure the shape of the Earth where you live using my new contraption.
No. See, when you say the shape of the Earth, flat's not a shape. The aspect you will need for the angle that your contraption, you've already shown the methodology in just a few edited frames to keep your intro snappy, told me everything I need to know about the Earth that is flat that you will measure with your contraption. So, you won't be measuring any shapes when you have a flat baseline for an angle. That's not a shape. A plane is an aspect at best, definitely not a shape. But that's just describing the aspect of Earth you're measuring, and it is flat. That will be calculable into a sphere after the fact. You said you'd be measuring shape. Wrong. I already know this is a falsehood. You are incorrect.
Since we're on that, just a slight correction. If he does listen to this, he said he wants to measure if it's flat or round. Well, round doesn't necessarily mean spherical. So yeah, you could have something flat and round. So
Yeah, flat and round are
looking
not
to
mutually
be-
exclusive. You can have a flat round penny.
Exactly.
Enough talk, more data. It's data time!
I'm data.
So the whole point of this tool is to be able to easily measure the angle of the sun without having to do a lot of math or trigonometry. Ugh, I hate doing math. Exactly. To this end, I've printed out all of the angles for a given height of a gnomon or pole. The lines on the paper are concentric circles.
Welcome to
say
Flat
hi?
Earth. Say it with me. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Snacks in the
Saying
bag.
height and angles.
Yeah, we're done here, lads. Day at a time. This is it. This is it. Game over. How many seconds are we in? We've had your full intro, your preamble with everything I needed to see. We were 1 minute and 11 in, and welcome to Flat Earth. This is a Flat Earth prerequisite. The circles, two-dimensional, are on a flat plane. This is what you'll be measuring, is it? Well, you'll be measuring a flat Earth then.
That lists the angle of the sun all the way out to about 70 degrees. Why
Degrees, what? The angle with respect to the sun on a flat plane? That would be a flat Earth prerequisite also. Should we keep counting? That's 2.
stop there? Well, as the angle of the sun gets lower, the length of the shadow gets exponentially larger, and this device would have to become way too big in order to record the shadow. So
Off a flat plane with respect to its angle to the sun. So we're talking about measuring angles off flat planes then. Okay? Yeah, we're going to be measuring Earth flat, lads. You wanted to know at the beginning of your video what shape it was. I mean, that's a bit of a category error. Nevertheless, it's based on your obvious now fundy predisposition to a sphere Earth belief to request a shape be divulged in this process. You've already done it yourselves, lads. You've measured Earth flat and will be detailing to an audience how to measure Earth flat, won't you?
So 70 degrees was about as far as I could reasonably go while keeping the size of the device small, but still big enough to record accurate measurements. Is that long enough? Well, if you use it on the equinox, this length will work for everyone south of 70 degrees north latitude.
Right, what do you mean will work? You can't get an elevation angle measurement off a curved surface. You can only get it off a flat baseline. I mean, we're not talking about any models or anything. We're just talking about measuring an angle off the ground. That's what you're actually doing. Why are we suddenly into, oh, it's a false dichotomy fallacy? So suddenly the latitudes, where'd you get latitude measurements? If you're going to infer that one of your false dichotomy suppositions of a globe has latitude, where'd you measure latitude from? Oh, that would be an elevation angle to Polaris measured also with a flat plane and an angle to the star Polaris to give you latitude on a ball. No, they're flat Earth measurements to give you the latitude to infer this ball. What's this? An azimuthal equidistant projection of a ball that came from flat Earth angle measurements to Polaris? It seems like you've got a flat Earth projection of a ball and a ball Earth projection of a flat plane that came from a flat Earth angle measurement to Polaris. What are you doing, giving us this false dichotomy nonsense, when your angle measurement that you'll be making going forward and the latitude in both models is measured on a flat plane? You've answered your question, that's 3. Latitude? Yeah, that's 3, mate. You've already got your answer, Earth's measured flat.
So it won't work in northern Greenland, but it'll work just about everywhere else in the world where people live. Sorry.
By work? What do you mean, work? It's a contraption for measuring an angle. It'll work wherever you decide that you want to plonk it down, level it, and get an angle from it. There's no issue with where this functionally useful for angle device that you've concocted may or may not work. Oh, did you mean with respect to the false dichotomy models that you put up on screen? Where they will... I couldn't give a shit. You're just measuring an angle off a flat Earth. Beyond the angle you measure off a flat Earth, I'll just take the angle you measure off a flat Earth as the proof that you're measuring, you, not me, a flat Earth. And without this measurement of a flat Earth, you can't do anything else. So, but for the fact that you will be and are going to measure a flat Earth, do we need anything else? You've measured a flat Earth. Oh, I should buy into the false dichotomy of a latitude-based globe based on angle measurements off a flat Earth that then gets projected azimuthal, equidistant, North Pole centric. No, that's just a stupid false dichotomy that has also come from flat Earth angle measurement origins.
Sorry, Greenland. Now we have to handle one of the most sensitive parts of this device, which is the angle of the pole and platform. Why are those so sensitive? In order to get an accurate reading of the angle of the shadow, this device has to be perfectly level on the ground, and the
You need a perfectly level ground to do this. Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. Welcome to Flat Earth. That's 4. So you'll need to level it with respect to the ground. You didn't have that on your globe model that came from latitude measurements of a flat Earth, now did you? You can't get a surface that's flat on a spherical surface. It's preposterous. So just so we understand where we're at, because immediately after putting up the false dichotomy, you've explained why one of your false dichotomy, not the flat plane azimuthal equidistant globe projection that he thinks is a flat Earth, is in any way justified either. But your globe definitely fails because you can't level the tool on a globe. So what we left with in your false dichotomy is your belief, not mine, in the world being azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe based on latitude measurements of a flat Earth. That's your belief, not mine. Idiotic. But just so we know which part of your false dichotomy failed immediately, it was the globe bit because you can't level anything on it. Ever. Just so we're clear, in case you thought your false dichotomy was still valid.
The pole has to be perfectly vertical. If the pole isn't standing straight up...
That's 5. No, was it 5 already? 6. Vertical? You can't have vertical on a sphere. You're not going to be perpendicular to Jack if you've got a curved surface below you. You can have in and out, and that's about it. So you're not going to have up, you're not going to have vertical, you're not going to have horizontal. None of these things are applicable to a globe. They are absolutely, without question, proving Earth's flat, though. Because you can only have perpendicular to a flat surface. You can only have parallel with it and angles from it if it's flat. So that's 6. Why are you even asking this question, lads? You know you're measuring Earth flat, don't you?
up, the shadows won't fall on the correct point on the paper.
But he's obviously somebody who appreciates data. So every time you point out how many times he's using a flat Earth, I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
I don't know what you mean.
He's someone who appreciates data. So you counting how many times he uses a flat Earth, he'll appreciate that data that you're giving him.
Data time! Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just needed to buy a bit of time to cue my camera up. It was worth it for the gag. Second time's a charm.
The angle will also be wrong. Remember, we're trying to decide whether the Earth is flat or round based on the difference.
You've just measured it flat, though.
And in many cases...
Right, is it flat or is it round? Now look at my flat Earth diagram of flat Earth angles off a flat surface that we've leveled to the surface that's flat for these angles that are flat. Why are you asking this question, you boneheads?
It's only going to be different by a few degrees.
That are only capable of measurement off a flat surface. Why? Hold the hell up. So why does this say globe Earth, and then you've got a very necessary flat line to describe any angle off it ever? If this was a globe Earth, gentlemen, you wouldn't be making angles from it. You can't measure angles from a curve. Data time? Are you stupid? Why am I, a flat earther, having to educate these dickheads with arms in there like they know what data means when they're supposing that you can acquire an angle from a curve? No, sir. No, gentlemen. You cannot get a globe Earth angle. That's an oxymoron. You don't get angles from curves. Do you know what an angle is, boys? Clearly not, because you've made this slide, haven't you, dickheads? Now you're being called a stupid idiot glurf dickhead by me, Nathan Oakley. Let me introduce myself. I'm a flat earther. And I'm telling you, data time dickheads, you cannot have a globe Earth angle, because then it would be meeting at a curve. Maybe look up the definition of angle, you stupid boys. You're having to be told by a flat earther there is no globe Earth angle? Oxymoron much? Not to mention the fact that 6 times you've already measured a flat Earth to get to this stupid oxymoronic point where you juxtapose a globe Earth angle. Are you insane? No, sir. Like your diagram, flat Earth angles, yeah, that's a prerequisite. Yeah, you'll need that to get an angle. It's a prerequisite for it to be an angle. As for this globe Earth shit that you've got written here, now that's just your stupidity, lads. Yeah, your idiocy has led you to believe that you can get elevation angles from curves. No, look up the definition of angle. That'd be 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. This is a vertex. This is 1 straight line to meet the definition of an angle, and this is another. Could this line be globe Earth? Definitely not, lads. It seems you need to make some corrections. I'll expect you to thank me in your attraction for your shit. That obviously demonstrates you don't know what an angle is, because you've labelled it with a curve next to it. Like, it somehow makes sense. My name's Nathan Oakley. You can put a link to this video and thank me for the education I've given you for free. Yeah? Me highlighting your dumbass stupidity that you're poisoning audiences with this globe Earth angle. Wrong. Yeah, you can remove this shitty video from the web. Get rid of it. And you can remake it and praise the flat earther that corrected your stupid shite that you poisoned audiences within the first 3 minutes of your video. It's not allowed. It's not tolerated. We don't accept this shit. Yeah? You've been put on blast, Delta Time. Yeah? Put on blast by me, the flat earther, Nathan Oakley. I mean, Nathan Oakley!
Especially if you're close to the equator. The more accurate we can make this contraption, the better. So how are you going to make sure everything is leveled properly? That's the next step. I need to actually build a platform to support the paper and vertical pole so that everything is angled correctly. For that,
This sounds like they're going to get into materials. Am I wrong?
It could be.
cardboard to mark where I think the shadow should be. Using info from sencalc.org and some trigonometry, I mark the angles that I expect to see at my location this time of year. So
the angles you would expect with respect to a horizontal plane of reference that you'd see this year, you'll need a flat earth for them. Right, back on track. I picked a good point to pick it back up.
Somewhere between 32 and 33 degrees elevation.
Elevation? That's 7. Sorry, elevation's described with respect to sea level. Now, I know, he means elevation angle, because that's what he's doing. But elevation, as you mentioned it, specifically, end quote you, is with respect to sea level. Heights of stuff is with respect to a flat plane also. You can't describe anything's height unless you've got a flat plane to describe it from. Universally, we take an average of the sea, that's sea level, and describe heights from that flat plane of reference that is sea level. So altitude, yeah, that's a flat earth prerequisite also. Now, if you're talking about elevation, end quote you, angle measurement, yeah, that, as we've already gone through in the other 6 that you used in regards to flat earth measurements that you'll be needing to make, you'll definitely be talking about elevation angle measurements off of flat earth, but we've already covered those.
The shadow of my cardboard indicator should appear in between these two marks. I test this out with my light to ensure its visibility. Now, I go outside one sunny morning to test how much of an effect the wiggle room has on my reading. Initially, the shadow indicator looks roughly accurate, but if the platform isn't completely horizontal, the shadow...
Come again? If the platform's not level with the ground completely and perfectly, if you haven't got a perfectly flat ground and the cardboard referencing a surface that is perfectly flat, your curved earth won't give you that. That's like something that's never going to be possible. And as I keep pointing out, a flat earth prerequisite. Whoever was trying to join G+, I wasn't quick enough. Just try again.
shadow can move off its mark. It looks like it could be off by about half a degree here. The vertical pole
Half a degree on a flat earth only.
also has some play in it. It looks like it can cause a similar amount of error in the reading. I'm going to go back at high noon and try to get a better reading. Well, it looks like in less than an hour, our sunny morning turned into a cloudy noon.
Oh, bummer. You won't be able to make any elevation angle measurements with respect to a perfectly level flat plane that you've referenced for your angle that you're measuring on a flat earth. What a shame.
Got my time-lapse recording all set up to record the shadow at noon, and this is literally all I got. 7 minutes of overcast shadow, and the sun didn't come out for the rest of the day. Actually, the pages cap on the top of the pole and test it out. It's starting to look a bit more manageable. Let's test it outside.
Okay, finally it's sunny and I can test this with real sun. And it
More continuous. All right, it's starting to look a bit more manageable. Let's test it outside.
okay.
What's this? Is this a spirit level? Oh, it's a good job we've seen this just to make sure we're absolutely abundantly aware that you've got to have a horizontal plane of reference perfectly level for this elevation angle measurement that needs a flat earth to measure it. Good job you put this in frame. I mean, it didn't get another mention from you, but I'll make sure the audience that I've got knows that your diagram earlier that I tore you a new one over, you know, with respect to having a globe earth angle. I mean, with this diagram here in this little thumbnail, would it be the case that you're leveling to the globe earth? An impossibility? I mean, where does the bubble sit with regards to a curved surface? It doesn't. You know, you're checking how flat you've got it. Yeah? I expect a retraction. I mean, I want you to let Delta Time know this guy's put you on blast. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and he's put you on blast. You've made an egregious error in regards to angle acquisition and described it diagrammatically like it can come from a curved surface. Something we would find so egregious given that we have spent literally years asking daily if you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. We literally ask that question daily. That's why, Delta Time, it is so egregious to us when you do this. That's why I've sent my audience to you with a request that they let you know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so that you can correct this egregious error where you think you can acquire elevation angle measurements from curved baselines. Outrageous. Please let them know. There's a link going by in the chat. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I'm just
Not
calling
only
people
have
to
we-
action. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Not only have we asked the question, but we've been told by people on their own side that it is measured flat. So maybe go ask them why they're measuring it flat. You think you're here measuring it round, quote unquote.
Yeah, there's 7 examples in the first 4 minutes, I think, where you can point out that they're measuring a flat earth to do anything. They just then superimpose a violation of an angle acquisition in this suggestion of a globe earth angle. I mean, it's outrageous. Like I say, we ask for this evidence daily. Just slapping it on something that's clearly got 2 straight lines with lots of angles detailed on it, and then just by fiat, globe earth slapped on there. Absolutely outrageous. Let them know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Finally it's sunny and I can test this with real sun. And it looks like the wiggle that I was worried about isn't too big of an issue. I mean, it is changing the degrees, but it's not as bad. It's still like within less than a degree at this latitude. So
Less than a degree of difference with respect to 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex with respect to the horizontal plane that you're referencing with that spirit level there. This is a flat earth measurement, mate. It is that simple. Now, you've appealed to your audience at the beginning of your video to let you know which way it's going to go. Well, you're doing nothing but making flat Earth measurements over and over again and showing your failings when you don't have the sun to make your flat Earth angle measurement. So, I mean, I don't know what more there is to do. I'm pretty sure we're going to now segue, now you've got a bit of data off of flat Earth, into your calculations of a globe. Let's see what happens. I mean, I could be wrong.
So maybe it's not as big of a concern.
Here is a time-lapse video of the shadow moving at midday. You need to record the value of the shadow at high noon, which you can do with an app like SunCalc. Or you can just record it throughout the middle of the day, and whenever the shadow is the shortest, that's when we are at high noon, or solar noon, when the sun is at its highest peak in the sky. Here we can see another issue with recording our shadow.
The issue is not an issue. It's a measurement of a flat Earth. You're looking for answers, now you've got them.
The pointed tip helps us record an exact value, but even a pointed tip is blurry on the page. Can't you just sharpen the end of the foam rod? No, it's not due to its point. It's due to the sun's angular size. What? Up till now, we've been assuming the sun is a point light source. But the sun has a diameter, and so light is actually shining from multiple locations across its surface. This means that the shadows cast from the sunlight aren't sharp. They are a little bit blurry. Based on the sun's diameter and distance from the Earth, its angular...
Where'd you get those?
Distance.
Distance from the Earth. What I'm seeing now is him giving an example of an angle measurement to the sun. And he's saying that based on its distance and diameter? No, the diameter's extrapolated from Kepler and Huygens. Based on flat Earth angle measurements in the first instance, to derive sphericity, put it in orbital motion, make it elliptical, and then scale it with Venus. Go ahead, Chocolate.
How would you even get the diameter if you think it has one? If the sun's not in its actual size ever, and it's not in its actual position?
I'll tell you.
How you getting that?
I'll tell you. You derive a value for a sphere Earth based on the minimum elevation angle to Polaris. You then take that value and put it in heliocentric motion around the sun as a sphere, orbital motion. You then modify the orbital motion from circular to elliptical, and then you scale the whole system that has no distance values thus far with a transit of a light in the sky called Venus across the sun. By ascribing that, the value that you originally got by deriving the minimum elevation angle to Polaris for a sphere-shaped Earth, onto Venus, you can scale the whole system and give the sun a radial value and obviously diameter, and a distance from us, with that ingenious assumption of Venus being the same size as a flat Earth measured, inferred, spherical, radial value of Earth. I thank you.
So start with an assumption, and the rest is you're golden. Okay, great.
Not quite. Start with a flat Earth measurement of an angle to Polaris. Earth gets measured flat for the starting point, the genesis of heliocentric nonsense. It all starts with a flat Earth. And an angle measurement in this instance is where this process begins. A lot like their process begins, not their process per se, but when they infer sphericity in distance and diameter, you need a flat Earth to infer it. It's a lot more convoluted, and I can summarize it in about 30 seconds. Nevertheless, that's what they're suggesting. That's where it actually comes from. Please share the show. Over 100 people watching. If you've not smashed the share button, I appreciate all of you who have toddled along to data time to tell them that you've been sent by me. But also, if you haven't done so already, of course, smash the share button for this show. It's live right now, and we're covering something quite interesting. There's only a couple of minutes left on this video that we're responding to. And yeah, if you have gone along to data time and told them that I sent you, thank you very much.
Size in the sky is about 1/2 of a degree. This means that shadows cast from the sun will also have a blurriness of 1/2 a degree, which is why our readings can never really be more accurate than 1/2 a degree. If we take a photograph of the shadow's blurriness, then there are some ways to use software to take the average of the blur. But actually, I think with all of the other factors affecting your accuracy, 1/2 a degree is pretty good for our purposes. I think that if this device is accurate to within 1 degree, I'll be happy.
Me too, because the moment you say degree, you tied yourself to a flat Earth in terms of the measurement. So yeah, accurate to within 1/2 a degree or 1.5 degrees. I don't care. you need a flat Earth for it to be a degree at all, because it's angle measurements, isn't it? One of them's the baseline. That's Earth, the thing you leveled your tool to.
Remember that the flat and globe Earth models will have a larger divergence.
No, this is why I'm calling for a retraction, you bullshitting idiots. It's one or the other. So I'll just call you both. Globe Earth doesn't have an angle. You can't get an elevation angle from a curved baseline. That is not possible. For it to be an angle, it can only be a flat baseline. It's an angle. It's utterly absurd and requires retraction. And thanks to the person who pointed out your error. That's me. My name's Nathan Oakley, the one calling you idiots for getting this so wrong, thinking incorrectly that Globe Earth had angles to offer. No. We've spent quite a considerable amount of time bracing against this by asking very specifically how you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. And there are you with a spirit level slapping on Globe Earth. No, don't just use flat Earth measurements. It's outrageous. Especially in a video when you're asking the question, well, is it a globe shaped or a flat shape? In a category error when measuring aspects with angles. Yeah, this needs retracting. Remake your video and say we put out a video asking if Earth was flat, but we failed to appreciate that we measured it flat multiple times and then took those measurements and put them on a diagrammatical example that suggested the globe Earth would give you angles. How stupid were we? Thanks to Nathan Oakley 1980 and his wonderful channel and panel members for pointing out our egregious error. So we've corrected our video and now accept that we measure Earth flat. Nothing else in the video needs to be changed. Here's our flat Earth measurements again. Because that's how everyone measures Earth, and that's how we measured it. We just slapped the words globe Earth next to angles. Like idiots. Didn't you, lads? Data time!
At latitudes farther from the equator. So if we take measurements closer to the north or south
Equator? What's that? I'm losing count. I think that's 7. Equator, you'll need a flat Earth for an equator. Where do you think you're measuring this shit? Oh my God. Can you stop using flat Earth measurements to make your stupid sphere assumptions in false dichotomies and descriptions diagrammatically that don't work because they're not angles? Oh my God. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I didn't say anything.
Was it you, Sensual? Someone on G+ came off mute. No one wants to own up to it. No worries.
poles, we should be fine with a 1 degree accuracy. Okay, now I just want to build some better cross supports and see if I can get the platform to sit horizontally better. Then
Did you say horizontally previously? Because if not, I'm going to count that as 8. Because I don't think you used the word horizontally. You'd used vertically. You used horizontally. I'm losing track. I'm going to...
Yeah, he did.
He did say horizontally specifically previously. Okay, I won't count it. You can't have horizontal on a globe. There is no such thing. You've got in and out at best. That's it. There's no horizontal to refer to. But yet you've got a couple of spirit levels, and you're making absolutely sure that you level it with respect to the ground. Okay? You don't have that if you're going to use your false dichotomy and say, data time, globe, angles. No, that's got flat earthers demanding retractions from you. So you can't use this term. Stop using our terms. You don't have horizontal on a globe.
Then I glue the paper in place on the boards of the platform. And finally, I bought my 3rd set of screw levelers, and I'm going to give it one last try before giving up on them. I drill bigger holes for them and glue them into position.
Gotta get that level. Go ahead. Eli, is it just you pop micing in Discord? It is. Yes, it is. Eli, can you go on mute? Eli. Eli! Someone temporarily server mute Eli because he's messing up my live stream. Nope, nobody's doing it. Sorry, Eli, I got to server mute you.
Once the glue dries, I see if they will work this time. finally, I think we have some levelers that actually work.
Gotta get it level. You can't have that on a globe. Good job you're measuring Earth flat and making absolutely sure you get it perfectly flat. Look at all those lovely flat Earth angles. Wonderful, wonderful.
Success! And here it is, my first sundial, or whatever it's called. Comment below if you have a better name for this thing.
I'm going to call it the Flat Earthimation.
This is definitely not going to win any awards, but it is relatively cheap and simple to make, and
proves the flat Earth. Wicked. Couldn't agree more. I'm glad I'm not going to be... Oh, I won't be doing this. I don't need to. I just need to see these numbers. As soon as you mentioned angles, I knew you would be measuring Earth flat. I didn't need to build jack. But thanks for doing it all the same. Wonderful. You will need to retract this shit video, though. I mean, you've made all the efforts and gone to the expense and made absolutely sure it's level. And then, for some unknown reason, put in your little chart there, globe Earth angles. You're going to need to retract this video. You know, making a demand. You're on blast. So you're going to need to remake it. Make special thanks to me right at the start. But this needs to go. This needs off the internet. It's misinformation. Yeah?
should be fairly easy to assemble. It's just PVC pipes with some boards and paper on them. And the plumb bob. Actually, I think the plumb bob is not really that useful.
Is it not? Well, if for establishing vertical it is. Vertical, you know, isn't going to be something you get on a globe. In and out isn't vertical, and you won't have anything perpendicular to it horizontal either. So, plumb bobs and horizontals and getting stuff level, yeah, all of this is way beyond your comprehension on a globe, and none of it will give you an angle on a globe. You just seem to be utilising that's our flat Earth measurements to ask a question in false dichotomy. It's pretty sad, lads. But like I say, I'm going to need that retraction. This is going to need taking down. Chop, chop.
And just adds to the build complexity, so I'm going to remove it. Good riddance. But that's it. I'm still not happy with it and want it to be simpler and cheaper and more robust, but...
What, to answer the question, you need the better equipment? Oh, no, I'll alleviate you of that concern. You don't need to improve it at all. In the method, no matter how well you make this device, you'll be measuring angles off a flat Earth, won't you, lads? No matter what you do and how well you do it, it'll be a flat Earth prerequisite for the angles in the base principle that you're using. You don't even need a tool at all. Go ahead. Hey, Eli. Hey, 10th.
Good morning. Good morning. Man, what a joke of a video.
No, it's just they just keep using our measurements. It's the cheek of it.
You go to that first graph that he had, the green line, I think it was, showing the angle measurements, but not using a sphere. Are you there?
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, it's the one that you referenced all the time. The beginning.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it. You chat away, Al. Oh, I've got it.
Okay.
What up, man?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, Chaco? So look at what he's got there. And I'm not sure if, because it's so small on my screen, but I see up to 20 degrees that matches both flat and globe. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's 1,200 nautical miles of flat. How can that exist on the globe?
Can't.
Okay. So right there, he doesn't realize what he's doing, even though the rest of this stuff is crap. Because he's got an elevation angle, two straight lines meeting at a vertex, perpendicular relationship. But he's basically saying, I get 20%, I'm sorry, 20%, 20 degrees and 20 degrees. Okay, well, if that's coming from your vertical, that's 1,200 nautical miles, all has to be reference flat. So how in the world do you even assume 8 inches per mile square or anything that resembles the sphere? It's just nonsense.
That's what I'm saying. It's so egregious. They're just taking a flat Earth measurement and just, well, plonk the word globe next to it. It's be all right. No. Nothing works anymore for you.
Well, he did more than that. He went, when he said the sun is a point light source, and then he showed divergent rays. Now, what are we told by everyone? The sun is so far away that the rays are what? Parallel. But
Actually,
he's showing divergent rays.
I'd just like to slap in the anti-flat Earth words in here. Almost parallel.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that divergence. And then he went to distance, as in height. But when it's the angular height that's important, not the actual distance in celestial navigation. And then we got a circle of equal altitude, which makes 5,400 nautical miles all have to be flat. And you can double that to 10,800 if someone on the other side has the same angle to the same sun, if it's 90 degrees. And then he says reference frame. Well, what is a reference frame? It's an assumption that it's on a 180 plane. So he never even used a sphere.
No, they just use flat Earth measurements.
And then to top it off, and this will be the last, the fundamental reference plane or frame, whichever way you want, is the equatorial plane in the center of a circle that they say is their paradigm globe. Well, that is a 180 straight angle. If that's the fundamental reference plane, that matches flat Earth. That doesn't at all prove a spherical shape, because you can't get an elevation angle from a spherical shape. So in every way, this whole thing died from the onset.
More robust, but this is the gist of it. It definitely works better farther from the equator, but then again, that's where the flat Earth model and the globe Earth model show the greatest differences. You said they could help.
Pause. See, I mean, I can't believe it. I just said it, and you're showing the picture of it.
Give them the same.
Right. If you're interested in having one of these devices to measure the shadows of the sun, send me an email, and I'll see if I can start sending out prototypes for people to test.
Now, I'm not suggesting that my audience should follow his instructions and send him a message at datatime27@gmail.com with regards to this show, because I've obviously already called you to action in regards to letting them know in their comments section, boosting them in the YouTube algorithmic love, that we definitely don't receive as flat earthers.
Everyone gets one. Well, I don't know how quickly I can get these out to people. I'm not a factory. I'll probably just send out a few prototypes to people in order to get feedback before making more and selling them for a small price. The cost is starting to add up. Either way, if you're interested, get in contact with me and I'll try and get them out as soon as possible.
Yeah, you do that. We want as many people measuring a flat Earth as possible. I mean, obviously, you know, you're going to need to tidy up this video when you put it out again without the errors that we've pointed out. I mean, you wouldn't want Data Time to be called frauds and charlatans, given that you're now trying to get money from your egregious errors. Now, I wouldn't want to call you frauds. I am going to demand a retraction, though, because it's wrong, fundamentally. Anybody got anything else to add?
His outro is worth watching for a bit of a laugh.
Will we get enough information to prove whether the Earth is flat or round? Who knows? Maybe we can get enough people interested that during future equinoxes and solstices, we can all go outside and record the sun's location on the same day and build an actual model of the size and shape of the Earth from the data. More data! It's data time!
Did he say the equinoxes was his reference as for the time to do it?
Yeah, he's going to need a flat Earth for that too.
Well, that's called the vernal equinox. And that's when they consider the Earth stationary and the stars are moving, and you have a 180-degree flat plane all the way to the celestial sphere. So the reference there is a flat Earth. I mean, these guys have no clue what they just stepped into.
No, absolutely. Any other comments? Thanks, Sensual. That was great.
Thank you. It was a great laugh.
Right, well, if there's nothing more to add, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Why nobody's attempted that?
I asked him where he got his radius from.
Because no, do you know why no one's attempted to tie the radius into that?
By what, into the radius?
Dip correction.
Dip correction.
It has nothing to do with the
Because
radius.
That's what I
why.
told them.
Oh, you stole my goddamn thunder. I can't set shit up.
That's what I told
Well,
them.
no, Eli, he was asking me the question and you jumped in, so you deserve this stealing.
You're right.
It doesn't matter. It's recorded and the guy will hear it. I told him I'd ask it. I told him that. I said, that's not dip correction. first of all.
And dip correction is not calculated, it's measured.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I did try to jump ahead of you there.
You had trouble getting on the show, it seems like.
First of all, where did he get
Yeah.
his radius from anyway?
What?
Where did he get his radius from? A flat Earth.
He took his radius from a circle of equal altitude that's flat and he turned it vertical.
Just quickly, while things are a bit tense in the flat Earth community, quote unquote, at the minute, flat Earthers shouting at one another, you can always rely on Globus to bring back the comic relief.
Who's shouting at each other? It's been a very calm show.
Did you say 10th or tense?
Tense.
Okay. I wasn't following.
Yeah, there's been a row going on. So anyway, it's calm today.
Oh, must have done dip correction then.
And it is funny that Whitsitt is always in the middle of it.
Who cares? Those guys are doing what they want to do, and they're going to be laying all the evidence there as to their purposes, reasons why, and eventually come back and bite them.
On what we're doing. And they can't bring our focus to all the things that don't matter now. Yeah, there are gonna be some other nondescript flat earthers out there doing whatever they're doing. But if we are consistent, all of the stuff we talk about can blow up at any time. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
You remember years ago, I said this so-called flat earth community has all kinds of people. Okay, I'll start with me. I'm a devout Christian, so I'm going to have my viewpoint guided by the Word of God. Then you've got New Agers. Then you've got other people with different backgrounds, different religious upbringing, let's say even. You've got every type of person there is, even people who are into conspiracy theories. And obviously, there are conspiracy theories that are true. And then there's the whole title of conspiracy theories to make you look stupid because of the way they control the media with those, with that term. So it's not a shock that some people who actually do accept the earth or believe the earth is flat will be into other things that maybe we aren't interested in because we're just FED and that's all we are. So we're going to say, yeah, he may be right on the flat earth, but I wouldn't be going to Ether or I wouldn't be going to these other places. Look, how are we going to stop them from going there? We're not. Let them go wherever they want to go.
Yeah, but he's not even bringing up flat Earth. That's the problem here. He's doing a horrible job representing flat Earth.
Well, why do you think he represents flat earth when he represents himself?
Here's the thing about it, though. Yeah, it's annoying. However, when people come up to me trying to debunk flat Earth using his words, it's a layup for me to knock them out with flat Earth. So I don't quite mind it.
I have never had a normie come up and use somebody else's words that you guys are talking about. It's because we're in the small world of flat earth and some have gone to other things. And when you talk to the people in both camps, that's when it comes out. But everyday life, it never comes up.
I agree with that.
Everybody I talk about it with, they go, all I could wonder when I was on my cruise is why it looks so straight. Everything is flat.
Yeah.
That's every personal interaction I've ever had that didn't have to do with hypotheticals. When they say they experienced, they're like, yeah, I don't, you know what? I did wonder that. And then when I give them the cowbell, they're like, wow, so what's going on? I'm like, that's your journey, buddy.
Same thing. Those same people, Eli, were on a 6-hour airplane flight from New York to LA. And for most of the flight, it was level. Pitch data will prove it. And it's the same as them being in the ocean and seeing everything flat.
There's two kinds of people on the plane, right? Because I had one friend tell me, I fly all the time. You know, they have a little screen that shows you how you're flying over the globe. Also, they say, you know, they'll give you points like I flew from here to here. How would that work on a flat earth? Now, majority of my friends, when you bring up flight, they go, oh yeah, I heard about the flat earth thing, and then I looked out the window and I didn't see curvature. That so there are people that are paying attention and they're being honest about what they see, and then there are people that are seeing what's in their mind. Like
Yeah.
a fool on the hill sees the
Yeah.
sun going down and the ice in his
A
head
fool on the
sees the
hill.
worlds. You know, you
Don't
know.
do that
Eli,
again.
That video I put
Just
yesterday has
let's just get
exactly
that squared away.
The,
Don't do that again,
sorry.
Eli.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to sing it for real and knock the socks off the audience? What?
I couldn't
No.
be
You
clear.
got a voice of an angel, bro. Voice of an angel.
The video I shared with the guy from Cobra Kai, that's exactly what Eli's talking about. They're looking on a screen of the plane flying over a curve.
No. The way you overcome that is that's an orthographic view. You have to know it's representing a great circle and it must be looked straight down. So it's not a curve, it's a straight line.
Yeah, the guy
Yeah, but
Johnny.
that's a very small. Most people, when considering flat Earth, don't think about that. They just look out the window because Google says that the horizon is curved, and they don't see a curve. That's what most of them are thinking about. They're not
Well,
thinking
that
about, well, look at this screen, and that was my point.
but I know, but the horizon, if Google says that, we got another major win because the horizon is not curved. The horizon is what the navigators use the sextant to get the zenith position of the sun using the horizon, which creates a perpendicular. So it's impossible for the horizon to be curved.
Well, Johnny says in the video, well, the map is flat and it's a straight line. So can you please get us there faster?
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to play it. It's a master thing. Anybody can look at it on their own.
He said,
I love Cobra Kai.
well, the map is flat, so tell the pilot to fly straight.
Yes. Well, you watched it.
Johnny said that? Yeah, I love his character too, man.
Which, by the way, that was insane. The ending of the last show. I can't wait for the next 5.
You know what? I haven't even seen any of this season yet, so I'm excited.
Well, season 6 is broken up into 2 5-parters. The end is insane.
When people see that curve over the flat map, that is where they're trying to insert a great circle route over a run line distance. That's what they're trying to do. Excuse me.
Shout out to
Unless-
Battle Mod. Battle Mod has been talking about rum lines for years.
Yeah, he's right. Because I bring it up because the thing about rum lines and it's great circle routes, as they call them, the great circle routes, you can only fly a great circle route if you're going exactly north to south or exactly south to north. Because a great circle route is along a longitude line. Right? Technically, it's along a longitude line. Anything that deviates from that, right, is going to be a run line distance. So when they fly short distances, they can use great circle route distances or run line distances. But if the distance is anything large at all. I mean, I'm talking about an hour of flight or something like that. They have to go to a rumline distance because most of the time they're not going to be flying exactly north to south or south to north. They're going to be deviating from that. And rumline distances are the only distances that fit that because they end up being greater distances, if you know what I mean. I did a thing on it, and I linked a video where they explain it. But the ball are saying they always fly great circle routes. No, they don't. That's a lot of rubbish.
Well,
Brian,
Go on.
yeah, that you had a flight data on a flight from, I think, England to somewhere in Africa was just a large distance. It was a straight flight. What was that again?
London to Accra in Ghana.
That's right. Go over that.
Well, why I bring that up is that would be along what they would call a great circle route because it's directly along a longitude line. So the longitude line that London sits on, Ghana sits on basically that exact same longitude line. There might be a tiny, tiny bit in it, but it's so tiny you wouldn't have to worry about it. They wouldn't have to deviate any flight until they get basically at Accra and then land. You know what I mean? Take a slight right or something. But the reason I bring that up is a complete debunk. It's the absolute destruction of the claim that we're rotating. The reason it is the flight is 6.5 hours. The distance is just over 3,000 miles. Now, that's reality. Reality, distance from London to Accra is just over 3,000 miles, and the flight is 6.5 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
But if they were really on a rotating globe, right, then they would have to leave London and head out over Schiphol, which is in the Netherlands, Holland, and head for South Asia to meet up with Accra. And they'd have to travel over 6,000 miles and do it all within 6.5 hours. But the problem with that, the ballers will say, no, like, this is the ignorant ones. They say, no, there's the conservation of momentum. Now, they don't even know the conservation, which one they're talking about, right?
Yeah, see, that's BS. That's BS.
I know that's BS. Yeah, I know that's BS. But let me finish this point.
There's a way that I argue. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you.
Just let me finish this point because I'm getting here. There is no conservation of momentum. Right, within their claim, there is no conservation of momentum, either north to south or south to north. Directly north-south or directly south-north, there's no conservation of momentum. Because the conservation of momentum is purely based off of, it's a calculation based off of a latitude. So if you're leaving the latitude of London, you're conserving the rotational speed at that latitude. But and you conserve that speed, but you don't conserve the speed of the next one. It's a joke. But when there's north to south, south north, and if you remember Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about that famous field goal that won the Super Bowl or whatever, where he said that he'd done calculations for how much the earth rotated underneath the ball. Remember that? That's because the pitch was at the kick and the pitch was directly north to south. Because there is a claim that their globe is rotating underneath things that are going north to south and south to north. But they don't like to deal with that. But the London to Accra flight proves that it's not, because they would have to travel double the distance in the same amount of time and fly a completely different direction. Go on, Neil.
Well, what do you want to say, Nathan?
Strictly accurate. Neil deGrasse Tyson's exemplary at making these magic tricks work so that they can be transposed with his clever wording into Globiolis, which is what Brian's arguing against. But their official claim is not Globiolis, is it? Neil deGrasse Tyson's just left enough wiggle room for it to be interpreted that way. Their claim is Coriolis. What Brian's bracing against, and rightly so, in terms of how you've taken it apart based on an anti-flat earther's description of Globiolis, conservation of linear momentum, but they would say angular. You've highlighted that also. But this isn't against the official rhetoric, is it? This is against Globiolis.
Well, this is in line with the official rhetoric because they can't claim Globiolis really in this situation. That's why I used it, because Neil deGrasse Tyson is referencing a globe Earth that's rotating underneath the ball, but the ball is being kicked directly north to south.
So let me
See,
let
if
me
it
let
was,
me.
go on.
I feel like over the years as I've heard these things, I found an easier way to try to illustrate or describe what they're trying to say. But before any of that, let's first talk about that graphic that Nathan had up. It's like a ball with uh 90 degrees at north and 0 degrees at the equator, and then 90 degrees around and bearing. And all that shows me is if you have a plane of reference from 0 degrees to 90 degrees, and then you have a bearing from north to south. Which is also a circle. So there's no globe anywhere in that. In order for those to be degrees, you have to have a flat plane and a
Yeah.
circle around.
What you're doing is, you probably won't get told off like I got told off for it 6 months ago. Is you're turning Brian's response to a response in debate into a flat Earth proof. Now, when I was doing that 6 months ago, which is taking everything and turning it into a flat Earth proof, you're right. I just want to make that clear, Eli. Kudos. And that's also what
I'm going further
yeah,
than that.
I
I'm
can
going. I'm going
sorry.
further than that
Brian's got
because I had
triggered.
asked Matthew Learns with this
I just want-
Coriolis thing.
The problem is, I just don't want you to undermine what Brian's trying to explain. And you
I'm
are
not, 'cause
right.
I'm about to move into the Coriolis thing.
Oh, go
But
on
I
then.
just wanted to point that out because I wanted to say that for 10 minutes.
Oh, well, you cheered me up, so I love that. It's just it won't cheer Brian up. Just so you know.
No.
I can turn
I think
what I'm
Brian's
talking
gonna
about.
like this. I think Brian's gonna like this because I'm about to talk about the north to south and the supposed
Well,
Coriolis claim.
Just before you do, I can turn what I'm talking about into a flat Earth proof all later on, right? But it's the point I'm making is that I'm using their actual claim, which the ballers don't realize. There's two things they don't realize. When they're claiming conservation of momentum, they try to throw in the term conservation of momentum when it comes to the globe, right, and it not rotating underneath things, right? But what they're actually doing is they're not defining which one they're talking about. The only one that they can actually
They've
claim.
assigned conservation of momentum. I'm trying to illustrate why there is no conservation of momentum.
I know that. I know that. Just give me a second. They have to claim, right, the conservation of angular momentum, right? They can't claim any other one because they're on a rotating body. Now, there's a load of issues with that, but the main issue with it is to conserve angular momentum, the angular momentum of anything you're upon, you must be physically attached to it. You won't conserve the angular momentum of a child's roundabout if you're floating over the top of it.
So let me slam dunk this, Brian. Let me slam dunk this. That's the point.
Okay, I'll go back to what I was saying in a few minutes then.
Or maybe you'll go, damn, Eli, actually, yeah, that's a really good way of describing what I was trying to say.
I will, no, I don't, if it's good, I'll obviously say it, but you're moving away from the point I'm trying to make.
You don't know that.
My example of the flight. Because I'm using, I'm just using reality, the implications of what they're claiming and how it doesn't fit reality. What?
Well, you know how we have the pitch data?
Mm-hmm.
And how that's what it is? Everything that they say outside of that is irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
So if you're flying north to south and there's a singular point on this coordinate system that you're going to, you're going straight to that point. Now, if that point is on a rotating platform, the Earth, then you're not going to that point. But we are going to that point. It's not moving. We're not we're not rotating with the rotation of the platform. We're not doing any of that because there would be some deviation in flight. No, we're going to that point.
Yeah, but Brian,
that's my point.
That's what I said. I said you're probably gonna. It's an easier way to describe it, and you're like, "That's my point," and I was like, "That's what I've been trying to say."
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that go on, you go, Kent, and I'll go in a second. I'm just saying what I'm saying is a little bit more in depth than that.
Okay,
Brian could do.
Everyone, stop! Everyone, stop! I want everyone to start talking a little bit slower because I can just hear how you're all quickening up because you're waiting for your time to talk. right? I don't want this.
But can I say one more thing?
You can if I can just get to the end of a sentence, and I encourage all of you to let everyone get to the end of their sentences. There's no need to rush, and I don't want it to descend to chaos. That's all.
All right. I don't want it to descend into chaos either. I began talking with saying, now I've been listening to you guys, and based on the diagram and based off of what you said, I've been talking about this with Matthew and others for years, and I found a simpler way to describe what you guys are saying. So when you say it's more in depth than that, Brian, I know. Mine is the simplified, not that version.
All right. That's not what Brian's doing, though. Brian knows how to simplify it. It's pitch data, very simple, and he just uses it. But when Brian wants to come at it from a different angle, so to speak, with a glober who actually is gaslit to think the Earth is spinning, then Brian could approach it from that point of view with the London to Accra flight. They're both doing the same thing, but he's coming at it from two different viewpoints. And we need to have the ability to come with as many viewpoints to prove a point that leads to the same truth. That's all.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, see, both you and Eli are correct. But what you're saying is part of what I'm talking about in London and Accra. And now maybe you already realise that. Because my point is that for the plane to fly from London to Accra, right, from the north to the south directly, right, on a rotating globe, because they can't claim conservation of momentum north to south and south to north, only east to west and west to east. They don't realise their own claim. See, they don't understand their own claim. They don't understand Coriolis. So my point is that if that plane is leaving London and flying directly south to Accra, the only way it can get to Accra if we're on a rotating globe, right? And this is why Neil deGrasse Tyson used the Earth rotating underneath the football, because he knows that there is no claimed conservation of momentum happening, with the exception of the latitude they claim to take off at, north to south or south to north. That's why he used that. That's why within his example, the Earth rotated underneath the ball, because the pitch, the playing field was directly north to south. So my point is that if that, yeah, exactly. So if that plane wants to get to Accra, Ghana, and I have done it out, I have it in 2 different videos, the plane has to fly not just over 3,000 miles, but just over 6,000 miles within the same span of time and take a completely different course. But it doesn't. It flies for just over 3,000 miles within 6.5 hours, and it flies directly north to south. And then from Accra back to London, directly south to north. There was no deviation.
Brian, could I say, in other words, similar to Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, you said from Accra to where?
From London to Accra in Ghana.
Okay, Accra. So Accra won't be moving then for the plane to go into the field goal. There will be no calculation or measurement or anything that's going to tell us that will be happening, that there's a field goal, which is Accra, that's going to be moving, that the plane is going to move into. Nothing's moving. There's no conservation of moving left to right. There's none of that going on when you're going north to south. You're just going north to south. And when you get south, that point that you were going to is going to be there. It wasn't moving.
Exactly. Within their paradigm, that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson used that. And the bowlers don't realize that because they don't understand their own paradigm like Neil deGrasse Tyson does. That's why he's willing to more or less nearly just give up on the drop of a hat, because he knows that what he's punting is rubbish. He knows that if I asked him about that plane, or you asked him about that plane going from London to Accra, and could he give you the calculations, he'd have to give you a calculation of Earth turning underneath it, because that's the claim they're making. Their Coriolis requires that when it's north to south and south to north.
And he would do.
He
He
would
would
do,
do.
but he wouldn't match reality.
Let me read something here. This is the actual internet. Did the Earth's rotation help the Bengals win? Question mark. And then Neil deGrasse on X said, today at Bengals, winning OT, overtime field goal, was likely enabled by a 1/3 inch deflection to the right caused by Earth's rotation. The next thing he says, in the northern hemisphere, Earth's Coriolis force deflects airborne north-south projectiles to the right about a 1/2 inch in per 50 yards. Then he says, the Bengals stadium isn't oriented exactly north-south, and the field goal was 42 yards, yielding a 1/3 inch deflection, not 1/2, like he previously stated. So the point that Brian is making is that if for 3,000 plus miles straight flight, you don't make any deviation, but for 42 yards, the Earth moved under the field goal for a 1/3 inch deflection. Imagine if the Earth was turning and we were on a globe, it'd be a 6,000 mile trip, is what Brian's saying, because you have to account for that Earth turning underneath, but it isn't. And so it's a bunch of BS, everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the bottom line is we're getting to Accra. So with that result, the only thing that they can do is calculate the the deflection in their path. But that would be incorrect because that wouldn't be what
What
the plane's
deflection?
data would be shown.
I thought
That's what I'm saying.
Coriolis
With the
wasn't a
pitch data, there
deflection.
would be none of that shown.
That's
With
the
the
point,
bearing on the
Brian.
plane where you're going, what they would have to claim due to the result will
But
not
that,
be shown in the flight data. That's the
Okay, what
point.
you just say?
yes. Yeah, Eli, you're going to flight data, which proves the Earth doesn't spin. Yes, we know that. But the point is, what Brian is showing within their argument with a glober who's still in that genre of Earth spinning, he's talking to that guy. Well, if for 42 yards it has this much change, how about for 3,000 miles?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, except you're talking to two different people with two different points of view. You just got to know your audience who you're talking to. I mean, if someone says,
how so? How
well,
so?
I'll tell you why. If a glober walks up to me and says, I hear you're a flat earther and you believe the Earth is stationary. And I'll say, so is the opposite true of you? You're a glober and you think the Earth is spinning? That's how so.
That's exactly what I was saying. If it's spinning and this is the result, then you would have to have some sort of calculation as to what happened during this flight. I'm talking to a glober, and if all things considered, then there would be this calculation that there's no actual evidence of a need for the calculation.
Agreed. This is why you're using a field. This is why you're using a field goal, which has nothing to do with the airplane flight, to destroy
but it's
the argument
completely
for the
analogous.
airplane flight.
It's completely analogous because we're talking about Accra being the Earth and the field goal being on the Earth.
Yeah, they're both on the Earth.
So it's the same. It's the same thing.
I got a point of contention here. What would asking them for a calculation have to do with anything? What's a
Nothing.
calculation prove?
To point out that there's nothing there. There is no calculation. There's just a straight flight from one point to another.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair, but
Like
let's say they
Dallas.
had a calculation. Would that change anything?
Well, my rebuttal to that is, well, that calculation, there's nothing in this flight data that shows that any deviation or deflection is happening.
Well, it does change.
So we all only have the events that actually take place, right? And then the globers put a story on those events, and they can't show you or demonstrate what's actually happening except in a calculation in a story, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Funny enough, in those calculations, they're always in reference to a flat plane. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
A globe.
Exactly. They'll all have a flat Earth genesis, John. Exactly.
Yeah, remember I started with, oh, wait a minute, that ball that had 0 degrees at the equator and 90 degrees, that's not a ball. That's a flat plane. And then you have a bearing from left to right, 90 degrees also being at north, I'm assuming.
Well, it's very simple. Is Accra claimed to be over 6,000 miles away from London or over 3,000 miles away from London? Because within their calculation, that plane has to fly, well, over 6,000 miles to get there. As a flight, not so much the distance between London and Accra, but for that plane to get there, it must travel over 6,000 miles if their claim was correct. It doesn't. It travels
So
3,000 miles.
just a bit
and it
off that.
doesn't. Yeah, and it doesn't take a flight path towards South Asia. It goes directly south, or directly south to West Africa.
Yeah, that's another thing. If the if Accra is moving, then you have to account for that extra distance that you'll be going to where Accra will be. There's no extra fuel. There's no extra anything.
Nah, man. Why would you have
Hey, I
to
got a
account
question.
when?
Sorry,
Yeah,
but
they
I
are.
was just going to interject there and say, is that route in either of the jet streams? Like, what I'm trying to ask is, would the jet stream add or detract?
Jet streams in North America is west to east.
Okay,
Not
what about the
always.
subtropical? Which one?
Not
I'm pretty
always.
sure that one goes.
I didn't say always.
That one goes.
Did I?
Nope. It's not
So,
always.
right,
A lot of
but
times it goes north to south. We're getting north to south
Yeah,
now,
dang.
right in the middle of the U.S. That's why we're freezing our butts off.
Yep.
The official flight information is that it takes 6.5 hours to get there on average and 6.5 hours to get back. So that tells me there isn't a jet stream issue because it's the same distance, same amount of time both ways. And it is always claimed to be just over 3,000 statute miles if you work it out from nautical. So I don't know if there's any jet stream issue. I just know that the Earth is not rotating underneath the plane, and that proves it, kind of thing.
The reason I asked is because we had this guy come into the politics the other day, and he was trying to say, so he's a tech on a plane. Like, he's not a pilot. He's not involved in anything but basically being, I don't know his role, but it's some kind of tech role on the plane. And so he was trying to say, you know, I went from the bottom east tip of Africa to the bottom middle of Australia, and it took us 12 hours. And I can't remember the names of the cities, but they're two famous cities. And he said, it took us 12 hours. How do you guys explain that? And I was all over the ocean, and I didn't see any land. And we're like, well, how did you validate any of that thing? It's like, why would we have to explain it? You went from point A, you arrived at point B 12 hours later. What's there to explain? And then, you know, he tried to give his little globe arguments with the AE map and be like, well, this distance is so much farther. A straight line distance, I would fly over these lands. Interestingly enough, somebody in the panel over there brought up to that guy, hey, you know there's a clearance that you have to be called ETOPS or something? I don't know if you guys heard of that. If you have, that'd be cool. But it was something to do with you have to be a certain range from land when you're flying certain things for safety reasons and all this type of stuff.
Yeah, you
And so
must
the
be
basic
within an
premise
hour
was-
or so of land. That's generally
Yeah.
the thing.
So the basic premise is just because you can't see the land doesn't mean you can say how far away you are from the land, especially when you're not the pilot or nothing. So just being a passenger on a plane, even if you are some kind of tech, and he didn't have any priviness to the actual speed, the actual any of the gyro, none of that. So it was basically just trying to debunk the path. And the other guy was telling him, dude, planes don't even fly straight in this corridor. Like they don't just fly exactly straight. They fly in approved corridors and approved flight routes. So he basically had nothing. And then he challenged us, you know, well, how does that work? So one of the guys brought up to him, he goes, okay, so when you're flying there and you were in the plane and you were looking at the instruments, the plane was always level, right? And he's like, yeah. And they were like, okay, so the plane wasn't rotating to adjust anything, right? And he's like, yeah. And then the other guy says, okay, so you're basically admitting the Earth is flat. And then we gave him the snacks in the back, bathrooms on the right, DJ spin a request.
But
Interestingly enough, though,
sorry.
I want to finish this
That's
up real quick because I want to get an opinion on this. Interestingly enough, though, I flew from Savannah, Hunter Army Airfield, to Kuwait via Ireland and Germany. And curiously, that pretty much is a straight line on an azimuthal map. And so from his argument where, well, the route of a plane, quote unquote, proves the map, I showed him a straight line. And I said, okay, so if I have a straight line from the places that I know I went because I landed in them, not just you who were over the ocean, does that prove that the Earth is an AE map? Guy's head exploded.
Well, yeah, how I normally deal with those guys, like the example I was using a few minutes ago was purely just a debunk of rotation. But how normally I deal with those guys is I would have at one time just gone straight to the lift effect. But now I have the pitch data, I just throw the pitch data at it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I'm interested in arguing about routes and speeds because I don't know all the information that Qantas have or whoever Lufthansa have for their routes and speeds and all the crosswinds and the jet streams. I don't know all that. So why argue all that?
Crosswinds.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I go straight to the lift effect, and then I'll just go pitch data. Boy, these days I have pitch data, so I just do that. But either way, I just
I've
lift
done it
effect
for
is
years
enough.
without the pitch data. Soon as flight's brought up, they're finished. Any flight. So I never went down that route. But you can. I mean, if you're well versed, and then set them up. But
Yeah.
I agree. Just kill them quick.
So why it was interesting about what you guys were just talking about is he was making a claim on I know that I took this long, and basically the plane flies this fast, therefore it must have been this amount of miles. But I was asking him, is there a jet stream there? And he couldn't tell me, so I looked it up, and there actually is a periodic jet stream almost exactly from the tip of Africa to the exact bottom of Australia. And I was like, dude, well, did you even think about this? And he's like, no, not really. It's like, I'm just a tech. I'm like, so why don't you go back to your plane, get all the particulars, and when you have them all ducks in a row, come back and let us know. Until then, you got nothing.
Yep. It's too vague to begin with, but you can kill them quick unless you want to play with your food.
Even when he comes back, he's going to have nothing.
How do you know if there's a jet stream involved or anything to do with any stream of air? Is that if the distances or if the time of flight from one location from A to B is different from B back to A, then you know that there is definitely the input of some kind of a jet stream or something, because it can't not be. It can't.
Yeah, but check
you
this
can't
out.
have some flights
Check
be
this out, brother.
not a problem and other sides be a problem.
Yeah, so check this out. In his flights that he did, so if you take the arc that they say the plane goes on the map, which by the way isn't validated in any way, shape, or form, it's just a projection on their little system, and then you take a straight line and you get somewhere in the middle within that path or within that corridor. If you look at the jet stream map in that corridor, the jet stream is only on the bottom portion of the corridor. So the plane could actually fly in one direction and back the other without having to go through the same jet stream.
The jet stream, I've been in one going to New York, and we got there fast. But then on the way back, it took a lot longer to get back to the West Coast because we were into headwinds. It's just time.
Yeah. Right. So a plane taking a certain amount of time to get from one place to another isn't necessarily a measurement of the ground, right?
No, they got their flight path, and they've got to stay in their corridor because you got certain eastern bound flights to western bound flights, and forget north south, but just eastern and western. And they are at certain elevation above the earth, so they don't run into each other. And that path, they take all the time. And if they got wind behind them, fantastic. If they got wind at them, it's just going to take a little longer.
Did you say elevation?
Altitude, same thing. Hey, Brian, I got to go, but is it true that in Ireland, the rum lines are a lot longer at your pubs?
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes.
How long did you wait to get that in?
Have a good day, guys.
See you, 10th.
See you 10th.
You know, one time when I was talking to Matthew Learns,
Oh, brother.
we were talking about
Have you ever
this
been in a
new-
Turkish prison? Sorry.
we were talking about this north to south flight, and he was like, but it would be like you're traveling with a raft across a river that's going left to right. And I said that's dumb because on the other side, in a straight line distance, you just have the other side of the river, right? And he's like, I see what you're saying. Like,
Yeah, he was putting a movement in between the two spots, but the two spots were still stationary. Yeah.
exactly.
The dude said to Nathan, I know we measure it flat, but I believe it's a ball.
That's
Dude,
exactly what he said.
the dude, you're talking about the Big Lebowski, the dude.
No, the
Learns.
Learns dude. Sorry, I watched
he's
Big
not-
Lebowski, so I got dude. Like I've been saying dude way too much because I watched that movie recently.
Yeah, he's not the dude. He's a short bus swimming certificate numpty.
Who, Matthew? Oh, man.
Yes.
As long as Matthew's been around, there's still some guys that don't know how to take him out easy. They get so frustrated talking to him.
Everything and anything that come out is incoherent pie hole for the past 4 years that I've met him in 24/7. I've ripped him to shreds on each and everything he said in a matter of seconds. But he still comes back. I seen him.
He's
I seen him
committed.
around yesterday. He was in some group yesterday. I seen him in there. Wow.
I mean,
Oh,
it's not
yeah,
that hard.
politics and
He'll usually
religion.
concede the point pretty quick. It's just that after that he'll go right back to Bill. But I just believe it's a ball. Oh, okay. That's great.
Can't do nothing with people's beliefs.
It is not a belief. It is not acceptance without evidence. It is acceptance with contradictory evidence. It's It's not a belief. It's I don't know what delusion.
So
Same
he should
difference.
be saying, yeah, Chuck.
Nah, same difference.
Decorating our tree. We're gone very quiet. Get out of it, Clover. Stop it.
Yeah, my
Who's
wife
that?
wants to do the tree.
Why have we gone quiet?
Who's that? Team Delta? My God. Is it Delta
Remember when you
Team?
used to have all the. Mm.
Ideally, both talk through each other, then leave prolonged silences. That would be ideal.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alpha Team.
You trying to say data time?
Yeah.
What are you trying to
Yes.
Is that like hammer time, like data time?
Data time!
Why is the tree going up so early? That's what I want to know. Usually it was the second week in Christmas.
We had snow in November, so I'm feeling particularly festive. About this sort of time of year, normally I'm bracing against doing any of this stuff. Going, no, it's too much. It's too much Christmas. This year we've had snow, we've made snowmen. I'm like, no, I'm in the mood for the tree. So we've got a tree.
There are people who literally put their tree up the day after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Jeremy, again.
People like a lot of Christmas.
Hate to be a stick in the mud, but Jeremiah 10, I would like to go back to something that Tent said. I've heard this a number of times through the years. Sorry to take over. I don't think I'm nitpicking here. Maybe I am. I'm bored. Said altitude and elevation are the same thing. I don't think so. Anyone got any thoughts on that?
Oh hell yeah, dude! I had to have like a 3-hour debate, alleged debate, with Necros about that over in politics.
Altitude is air pressure above sea level, whereas elevation is a measurement of height above sea level.
I know
But
Johnny.
a mountain has elevation, an airplane has altitude. There's
But I
still a
know
height
Johnny
above
got
level.
upset with Nathan with that.
That's incorrect. It has nothing to do with altitude, and they're not both above sea level. They can be, but they don't have to be. One doesn't have to be. Which one doesn't have to be?
Well, let me tell you the argument I had with Necros. He was telling everyone that mountains are an altitude, right? So they're the same altitude no matter what. But they're measured elevation from their base, or whatever they decide is the base, to the tip, which is not necessarily its altitude above sea level. So I think that's the distinction.
Well, can somebody go get some like a comparison or something? Can somebody go get it? They're
Use your words.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to. Hard to use words.
You guys remember this old saying about the mountains? How like some people would say this mountain is the tallest mountain, but it's actually not the highest point on Earth. You remember that? That used to be. People explain the difference between certain mountains and areas.
Yeah,
Because from sea level, it's one thing, and from its base, it's a different thing.
All I know is the guy Johnny,
the Earth
the
is a
captain
globe.
of that boat, or used to be a captain of some sort of boat. The guy Johnny that we can't understand, he would get very upset with Nathan saying circles of equal altitude. He wanted him to say circles of equal elevation.
All right. So I typed it in. Let's see this. Let's see if it's correct. It's from the AI bot. So it says altitude and elevation are not the same thing, but they are often used interchangeably. That's what I was trying to say. They're used interchangeably. So altitude, the vertical distance of an object above a reference surface, such as sea level. Altitude is often used to describe the height of something suspended, like a plane or a cloud. Altitude is measured using an altimeter or altitude meter. Brian might be correct with his air pressure thing. And is based on a given reference datum. So that's altitude. Elevation is the height of something standing, like a building or a mountain, relative to a fixed geographic reference point, such as sea level or ground level. Elevation is measured using differential leveling. Altitude and elevation can be changed based on. Oh, I'm going down the poop chute. Altitude and elevation can be changed based on air pressure. That makes no sense to me. It's
a building's height changes if the air pressure changes.
that's what I mean. This is nonsense.
Yeah, sometimes those AI little blurbs that they bring back get real retarded real quick.
Yeah, it contradicts itself. So
what is the difference then?
Well, no, because
right.
See, let me give why they're saying that.
Yeah.
If I have the top of my local mountain, or whatever mountain is closest to me, and it's winter time, I'm on top of my local mountain and it's summertime, due to convection, the air pressure at the top of the mountain may be different between those two seasons. That means its altitude will be slightly different. But that wouldn't affect an airplane, because where the airplane is, the air pressure, let's say if it's 6 miles up, the air pressure up there is nearly always about the same. That's how they know they're at that altitude, because it doesn't change. Seasons don't affect it because it's too high up. But your average mountain, right, maybe not so much Mount Everest, but your average mountain, there can be a change from season to season in its claimed altitude for that reason.
But it's still the same height, right?
Its elevation is
right,
but its altitude technically can change with temperature.
What the hell did you just say?
If you want to throw a wrench in the works, they've actually changed the elevation of some mountains throughout the years because they changed the local reference of ground level.
Yeah, you could do it that way too. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up.
Wait a second. How could the height of a mountain?
But the point you brought up earlier is a point that I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson make, which had to do with the WGS-84, which we know is bullshit.
Yeah.
All I want to know is why get tall.
It's not that it's actually a different elevation.
All I want to know is, will I get taller if I go to a higher elevation? Will it change my height?
It was just important to make that point. Like this idea that people think, well, you would think that based on this elevation, I don't even know which mountains, but they whatever mountain they would say is the highest, he'd say actually because of this location, this one is the highest because we live on a globe. But we know that's bullshit.
But no, that's based on its base.
I want to answer Neil's question, if I may, since he asked. Since I actually have a local mountain that had this happen. So where I am, I have one of the tallest mountains around. And the base of the mountain, isn't like a perfect slope. It kind of has, it goes down, then it comes out, then it goes down, then it comes out, and it goes into the town. And so there's things on those more flattened out bottom parts, right, where they're trying to rezone for construction in the future. So they had to resurvey the area. And so they had a base ground level, which was a certain above sea level. And so the distance from the tip of the mountain to that base ground level was one thing. After they rezoned, it got a little bit different, or in other words, lower. So from that new benchmark, the alleged elevation got taller. The mountain didn't actually change physically. They just changed the ground level benchmark.
Yeah, so that's what elevation is. The difference between the two that I can see that I'll just stand on was elevation is the height of something standing, like a building or a mountain. So something that's fixed to the earth, while altitude is suspended above the earth. Oh, okay, everyone got that?
Right. But the fixed frame being changed, but I'm sorry, not the fixed frame. The frame of reference being changed is not the elevation or the altitude changing. It's you changing where you measure from.
Yeah, but that's still going to change your overall. If you change the benchmark, then that's going to change the elevation. Follow?
Unless you're using sea level. Because the bench
sea level is a calculation. You can change sea level as well.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But the point I'm making is no, the sea level itself is only, it's not different in different places. It's exactly the same. It's the tide heights are different in different places. But once you have a sea level set, the point is that all benchmarks have a height above sea level. And so if you change the benchmark, then you're changing the position of the benchmark. But that's like me saying the height of the mountain based on this hill is different tomorrow when I base it on this other hill. But those two hills have a height based off of the same flat basin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, you're
altitude.
correct.
It's
So-
sorry, it's elevation.
so when they
the
did
elevation
this-
of the mountain off of sea level will never change. Well,
Right. So so here's the thing: when they did this in my area, the arbitrary point is, what do you consider the actual base of the mountain? Is it this little portion of land here, or is it that hill, or is it that hill? And someone has to decide. We're just going to say this portion is the base of this mountain, right? So they had to just make a decision.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Because, like I said, the mountain goes down. The mountain goes down pretty steep, and then it kind of plateaus out a bit, and then it goes down steep, and then it plateaus out a bit, and then there's a little bit of a valley, which kind of comes out flat, and then on the other side's another mountain, right? So if you say, well, the deepest part of the valley is the base of the mountain, someone else might come along and be like, well, that's not fair. That seems silly. Obviously, that first hill is the base of the mountain, and then you have to decide, well, who's right? And that you can only decide that by coming to terms. There's like no absolute right answer.
So
Right, it's a reference
that's
invariance, but it,
understood. Like it seems we got that all clear. So circles of equal elevation or circles of equal altitude? Are we drawing circles in the sky or around us? Or is it both?
I
you
don't know.
can't use altitude there because you don't know. You can't use altitude in that scenario because you don't know the height.
No,
you
that's
can
correct.
use an apparent elevation based off of the measurement. Because elevation is a measurement of, let's say you could take the elevation of a plane, but it won't give it its altitude. Its altitude will be based off its air pressure.
according to what John just said, altitude is the only thing you can use to describe it because it's suspended above. It's not
However,
attached
he
to
did make that was a valid point though, no?
Yeah, you don't usually hear it described as the elevation of the airplane, right? Or the altitude of the building. You don't. At least I've never heard that.
Correct. Correct. That chocolate's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But when
with
it
the
comes to
stars,
celestial
you can't give
navigation,
them
it
an
just sounds
altitude.
like the language gets a little.
Yeah, that's true. Like elevation angles of celestial objects. Really an altitude angle, right?
Which
But
it
it's not.
can't be because altitude is
No.
based on air pressure.
Yeah, it can't be. It has to be elevation. It can't be an altitude because you don't know like as I said earlier, I can take an elevation angle to an airplane, and it'll give me its elevation, right, based off of wherever position I'm in. But its altitude might differ from my elevation measurement because
But
its
let's just
altitude is based off air pressure.
Let's just keep them elevation angles. Heck with it.
As long as you're using the same frame of reference, you're not going to be able to change those two.
That's true.
Yeah, but I'm
in this
talking about,
case,
John,
they're
if you're
basically
measuring,
the same.
Yeah, but if I'm talking about, if I'm measuring an elevation from where I am, not sea level, to an airplane, right? Then its elevation for me will be different than its altitude, because altitude is off of sea level. But if I'm not at sea level and I'm measuring the elevation angle, then my elevation angle, right, is not going to match whatever
good point, but
calculation
you
of,
can't-
you know what I mean?
That's a good point, but you can't say that for celestial bodies.
Yeah, but that's my point. You can't say, you can only say elevation for celestial bodies, unless you want to, if you say altitude, you go, well, what air pressure are they at? Then you have to give a height.
Yeah, I've seen in some elevation angle definitions they call it the altitude angle.
Yeah, how do
Well, what
you
is the
describe something you can't
what's the angle?
you can't correctly describe? You know, anyway.
They
What's
just
the
made a
ang-
choice. They made a choice. It's the same thing. There's no
what is
other
the
way
angle?
to.
You only have an apparent elevation. That it should really be called the apparent elevation angle, because you don't know what actually. Because miles in the sky, you'll get the same angle. So
Well, there's another angle that's actually used to calculate the distance. What's it called? Is it the co-elevation or co-altitude?
co-altitude or complementary zenith angle.
Yeah,
But that's
See
taken
how-
off of the elevation angle.
So you don't really get
Yeah.
an altitude angle because altitude is calculated by pressure and other stuff, right?
Yeah.
The angle is just the elevation from your reference point to that other body in the sky. If it's a celestial body, though, I mean, the height doesn't matter. Like where you are, whether you're on a building or whether you're on sea level.
It seems like what we're doing is with altitude, we're referencing vertical with respect to horizontal, and with elevation, we're referencing horizontal with respect to vertical. They're kind of linked up.
So how's the weather?
It's cold, man.
Oh, thank God we're 3 million miles closer to the sun.
On the ground, there's no snow.
Wait
and
a-
on the mountain,
wait
the
a
tallest
minute.
mountain that I just mentioned is covered in snow.
Wait a minute. The further you get away from the sun's core, the hotter it gets, though.
Yeah.
No, bro, I like
reverse entropy.
my sun theory the best. I love it. There's a guy a while back that put out a critique against dumb ideas about spectroscopy and Glover claims. Now he's not a flat earther or anything, and he was basically saying when he studied the spectroscopy, he's like, wait a minute, none of this makes sense of what their claims are. It's more akin to a giant ball of liquid metal. So I was like, perfect. It's a T1000. Some people
That monkey is a
believe.
shapeshifter, ain't it?
Can I blow up QE's head a little bit again?
Yeah.
I can't get away from that because I thought this, but when he brought it to light yesterday, it's like if there's no QE and there's no focus on the scientific method, then what does the conversation look like?
Hey, Witsit, should we talk about ether tonight? Yes, Nathan. Let's talk about the highly profitable ether. Hooray! Let's all have our open-toe sandals slip a day.
Ether time.
Like, and the point is,
Ether time.
one man, not to be prideful or anything, maybe it was God working through it had to be done, but one man really did change the landscape of things. And it's like when you think that you're an individual who can't do that, think again. Like we got a prime example right here. That's the biggest difference.
What, you doing a blockbuster trailer?
Did you just call QE the Knight Rider? One man can make a difference.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, he just did a
man,
full-on
we gotta-
blockbuster trailer. It was a time of turmoil. One man changed the landscape for everyone.
Y'all are making jokes and it's funny. But if we're keeping it real, that is the biggest contribution that we have. I don't know I mean, can anybody challenge that?
I don't know. Refracted coming up with measured flat. That seems pretty relevant to me.
No, John's got this. This is pretty much his world at this point.
I knew I was going to get a rise out of you.
One man can make a difference.
Not to blow smoke, but one man can make a difference.
I'm making jokes.
Hold on, he reminded us yesterday. So I guess that man is the quantum eraser.
That's just what it happens to be.
And if you don't like the man, you've got the website.
He's over there blushing like Mayor West or something.
Like I said, the only guy I heard talking about like science was the Robbie Davison guy. He was calling it scientism.
Yeah, no. Ew. Ick. Bleh.
Ew.
I'm just saying, I know. I didn't learn it
I
till
know
I
what
got
you mean
here.
when you
I
say
understand.
ew.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I heard him saying that science has nothing to do with anything, and he's called it scientism. It wasn't until I got here. Yes.
Well, wasn't he attacking it like you know, in a lot of people's minds, they basically supplanted the concept of science as some kind of religious idea in their world. You know, like it's like the priesthood telling them what to do. Wasn't he doing that type of thing?
Yeah, they still are. They call it scientism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scientism, correct.
Okay.
But he was talking about methods and things like that, and so yeah, that's the first I heard it. But it wasn't until I came here that I
Not
heard
that
it laid
that's
down
not
the
a
way it's
thing.
laid down here.
Not that that's not a thing, but that's not the scientific method. That's completely non sequitur.
Right.
You know, so
That's
he
more of
would
a
have got
that's more
us.
of a
He would have
polemic,
got
right?
us to Jarenville. I'd have happily still probably been watching all of his streams, which is.
I wasn't. At one time, I was talking about Mickelson Morley.
Chill.
Yeah, but also, guys, check this out. The idea about the scientific method and all these standards, right? It's not exclusive to this topic, right? It pervades so many topics. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, that QE was involved with atheist or evolutionist debates in the past, and I'm sure he used it there as well.
See, the problem is without QE, I would have tried to use science against the Bible. That's y'all not understanding how big what
feel-
he did
I
stopped a
understand
lot
now.
of bad thinking.
I understand now.
Feel like, yeah, I agree with you, Eli. I feel like we would have got stuck in years of the category era trying to conflate science with flat Earth. I feel like that's probably, besides the method itself and actual experimentation, formulating scientific theory, I think we would have just been stuck in the category era. Oh, this is scientifically
That's a
proves flat
mark.
Earth.
That's a marked
I'm done.
point that I think we've all noticed throughout the years, is that we encounter people who, in their worldview, they have an agent who is the creator of everything, infallible, and has a holy writ that he has given to his people, which says one thing. They have that on their left hand. And on their right hand, they have their opinions of whatever it is the mainstream calls science. And many, many times, if not most of the time, even though on the left hand they have the God of the universe telling them something, and on the right hand they have men who they know are deceptive in their own worldview, they side with those men because of that word, science.
So here's what I'm thinking, right? Let me try to walk this back. Logic comes from God, let's just say that, the creator, right? And at the heart of the scientific method is logic. Now, what I've seen over the years since QE has brought me to this understanding, everyone around us is attacking that logic. Sometimes it's the scientific method. Sometimes it's telling people to stop begging the question. Sometimes it's telling people don't affirm the consequent. So they're always attacking him. And I've noticed that. And I'm like, is it justified or is it not? I mean, and this is why he's single-handedly the biggest player on the board. I can't see it any other way.
I don't know why. It only proves three things.
Am I getting kudos? I left the room. What the heck? Am I being lauded or something?
Go back to sleep.
Yes, Your Majesty.
You gotta watch. You gotta go back and watch the show. We can't recreate what.
Yeah, you can take
You're
a
you're
bath with a cigar and listen to it on repeat.
No, for real though. Like again, in summary, I would have been without you at best trying to use science to disprove the Bible. And that's like we're trying to talk about how significant just one man was. And so when people say that they're one person and what can they do, you single-handedly changed the course of every flat earther in existence.
Change the narrative.
Hey, honey, did you hear that?
You have been dubbed the Night Rider. One man can make a
I am the
difference.
Night Rider.
I love you, Kiwi.
Hey, honey, did you hear that?
all jokes aside, when you put on your stern face, that's dead ass true.
Hey,
Facts.
hey, my wife. I walked out into the kitchen, right? I walked out there, and she's pounding stuff, Christmas decorations in the house, and she's got a stud finder, and every time she turned it on, it pointed directly at me.
Wow.
Make me laugh. Oh, shoot.
Wait, did you say dud finder?
Did you? What did somebody say? Dud
Dud finder. See, but there's no such thing as a dud finder. But I'm picturing your wife looking for studs.
I'm just saying there are a lot of ways that we're still mentally enslaved. And when you find someone who's shown you the course that other people take and the course you're supposed to take, and you're on that other course, you see just how big of an impact that made.
Damn.
See,
you got to think about it. I mean,
you know the way you said it. I don't mean to cut you off. The way you said it, though, right? You would try to use science to debunk the Bible. Well,
that's
I
a
feel
big
like,
deal. That's very dumb.
Yeah,
I would be
and I
very
feel that.
dumb still.
And I'm saying, like, by the same token, like, we would have been trying to use science to prove flat Earth.
Yep.
There was another point brought up. Be careful with this one. That logic is used in science. That's correct. The scientific method is a logical, stepwise method. However, its results are not logical.
I didn't say used. I said linked. And I explained how it was linked to
No,
the
you said the
scientific method.
center.
Well, okay, because logic and reason comes from God, I said. And then I said at the heart of the scientific method, it's, obviously the if this, then that, or if this, not that. And in other scenarios, it's just not making logical fallacies like to come to conclusions, begging the question, affirming the consequent, all these other things in other areas that we deal with. And I said, actually, the reason that people push back on QE is not just for the scientific method. At the heart of it, they don't want to think right. And he's the only one that's been trying to get us to focus on, well, what is logic and reason, and what is all of these logical fallacies going on? And also, here's the scientific method. You did a lot of shit. Come on, bro. Like, it's ridiculous how much you did.
All right, QE, how much did you pay him?
Not enough. I'd like to thank all my fans and my mom for having me.
It is true. I was claiming Mickelson Morley, and my son still brings it up to me today. You used to believe Mickelson Morley was science. So, thank you, QE.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I'm sorry, I was talking to myself there.
What the hell has? All right, now here's a. What the hell is what's it done?
I'm sorry, I was talking to myself as it was you said.
Why, what's it done something else? Please tell me no.
Nathan, that's so. But Boy Zero Sky. Oh, his name's changed.
Shit, what have I done? Hell,
it'd take a while. It's ping pong golf ball. That's the new name.
You could thank AI for that.
One man stands alone. Quantum Eraser, Nathan Oakley, Bette Midler, in this summer's blockbuster hit, Flat Earth. The musical.
All right, I got to keep it going. I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it going. I gotta keep it going. I gotta keep it going. I gotta praise the creator because only the creator can bring things like this together, right? And so now, do we have QE if we don't have some crazy ass Nathan who, for whatever reason, fires up his computer consistently 5 days a week? Do we have a QE if Nathan says, "What are you doing? Why don't you just make your own channel?" What if QE just goes
That'd
off
be
to do
no.
other
If it
stuff?
wasn't for
that
Nathan,
happened.
we wouldn't have
That happened
the
after
same old
Goldbusters,
situation.
though.
QE would just be like these numpty dips. He'd be going off to do whatever he wants to do. He wouldn't be really focused on this. He'd probably be doing something else.
I thought that specifically came off of the Globebusters when Nathan went there and talked with Bob, and that whole thing happened. That Sunday there was no Globebusters, and I thought that's why Ballbusters was created. I could be wrong. It's a few years ago.
I remember it very distinctly. The heavens parted, the angels came down, sang and blew trumpets, while the
Come on,
fiery
it was
writhers
sweet.
of hell rose up, and I battled against them. I remember it distinctly.
I'm right. That's how it happened because I was a listener.
So again, I often think about, you know, we're all human and things happen and we get sick and things. And I'm like, what if something happens to Nathan and there's no show tomorrow? God forbid. And that lets me know how significant a role he's played. And you know what? If you guys don't show up, if we don't show up for freezies, is Nathan gonna fire his computer?
Yes, he will. He said that in the Times. He would be there alone every day.
Oh, okay. Well, again, kudos to the guy who fires his computer up, but kudos to us for coming too and making it a conversation and learning the things that QE had to say. Because I'm pretty sure everybody else is too dumb to listen, and we're the only ones.
No, it's that when you're hearing it and it's new, it's like, wow, I've never heard this before. Wow, this is making a lot of sense. You're gonna stick around.
No, if it wasn't for Werner Heisenberg, there wouldn't be a Nathan show. There wouldn't be a QE hanging around a Nathan show, and we wouldn't be here talking about it.
Nice.
Werner Heisenberg and
Let's
people like
hear the rationale behind this. Go ahead.
Well, if it wasn't for quantum mechanics, and he's considered the godfather of quantum mechanics, we wouldn't have computers and smartphones and the internet and all this other stuff to be on.
No,
Yeah, but if it wasn't thanks to his parents, he wouldn't be alive.
Well,
But I thought
we can
Witsit debunked
retrograde
quantum
this.
mechanics.
We can retrograde this chain of events all the way back to a single person. The person who deserves all the glory. That person is Jesus Christ.
God.
Who was it?
Jesus.
Jesus Christ, the creator of everything.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jesus. But, if it weren't for Mary.
If it weren't for Mary, is that what you said?
The Roman Catholics would love you right now.
Oh, man. Neil, I got a question for you. Somebody posted a really funny thing, and they asked if it was you in this commercial. Did you check that out in the chat the other day?
No, I didn't see anything. Where?
It's so funny, dude. You got to watch it. It's basically a commercial for an old video game about like a helicopter that just blows up cities, and the narrator for it, somebody thinks sounds just like you. It's like from 1990s or something.
Where is it?
Yeah, you know what? I'll look for it too. So it's not too long ago. Might be from Righteous.
Discord main chat.
And it's so old. I mean, if we wanted to play it, I don't think we'd get hit by any copyrights.
So, QE, about that
Oh, there it is.
Christmas tree yesterday, I was reading Jeremiah, and I think you're right.
Right about what?
About the
Yeah, I
Christmas tree. Now,
reposted it.
commentators say no, it has nothing to do with the Christmas tree. But I remember as a young Christian just reading through the Bible, when I came across that, I mean, it just said Christmas tree to me. And as I was reading it again yesterday, that's all I could see was the Christmas tree.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, but if there is no us, Nathan would be talking about computers. Who cares about that? So
Well, if you want to get
Neil,
deep, there's a reason why we're all here, correct?
what's that?
Hey, can you say that again? I was talking through you.
I said there's a reason why we're all here, correct? It's not for nothing. I always say that. Then what the heck are we doing here?
It's like we're on a real life quest. You can't deny it.
What you need to understand is you've already made the choice. Now you're here to wonder why you made the choice.
That's deep.
There is no spoon.
They're changing the world.
I don't know. That's a little bit. It sounds like delusions of grandeur to me.
No, man.
Okay, so then what are we doing
man.
here then?
No. It's delusional for me to say what I've said about you, and yet it's reality.
Yeah. He just threw away his own legacy there, Eli.
Exactly. I don't understand that. What are we doing here then? If we're not here to change
He's a humble
the
man.
narrative
He's a humble
and the
man. That's
worldview, then what are we
also a
doing
virtue.
here?
Look, Quantum Eraser knows all glory goes to Jesus. Right? Very simple.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're here for a reason. And if that reason is not to change the narrative and people's perception of what's going on, I mean, what are we doing here?
Hey, there's a verse like that, Neil. I don't know if it directly applies, but it goes something like this. I was raised for such a time as this. I think it was Esther who said that.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's in Esther. The only portion of the Bible that does not mention God.
Yeah. So she had to speak the truth to somebody that could have costed her life. And when people were saying, you know what, this is a big deal. I don't know if you want to do this. You know what she said to him? She said, I was raised for such a time as this. If I perish, I perish.
I perish, yeah. Yep. That's what it says, yeah.
Kind of feel that. That resonates with me.
So does a short bus.
Yeah, every man.
With the helmet or without the helmet? I prefer the helmet. Stupid ass.
Hey, check this out. If there's no Witsit, there's no break into the mainstream.
No, you can't do anything but Witsit.
No, I'm saying that's where we're going. Because me, I already have plans. I'm already.
Sounds like I don't know where you're going. It sounds like you're far away, though.
Yeah, sounds like
where
you're
you at, in a cave or
broadcasting,
something?
All right.
broadcasting from your local men's room.
Check this out. If there's no Witsit, what I go on to say, or what we go on to say on the Killer Priest podcast, doesn't get as much blowback. And if it doesn't get as much blowback, there's less attention.
So what you're saying is we need his numpty canvas so I can paint my Rembrandt.
No, there's no such thing as bad publicity, and sometimes bad publicity causes a bigger stir. Yeah, these are all justifications that you say when you've had a very bad marketing campaign. So if you look at Jaguar at the moment, with their slightly late to the table, woke as all hell campaign that's changed their branding, everybody hates it. Oh, well, does that mean we're going to see lots of Jaguar sales? I'm thinking no. But there's going to be some marketing guy somewhere putting the spin on going, no such thing as bad publicity. If it wasn't for everyone hating it, no one would be talking about Jaguar. Yeah, but you really just wanted to buy your cars, don't you? As opposed to talk about how woke and awful it is. Well, it's good news.
Okay, well,
it's not good.
Well, from my perspective,
I'm sorry.
From my perspective, well, not even from my perspective, there are people that have specifically told me that they're tired of the Dave Wises and the Witzes, and they just want to hear, they want their audience to hear more of us. And I think
get us on there.
Yeah, we're going on there. I'm just saying we're much more appetizing now than we were before. People are starving. I'm just saying.
As cliche as it sounds, I need to go on with a book, basically. Once the book's done, I'll be putting pressure on you to get me on there. So
agreed.
What do you think is the?
Oh,
sorry, Nathan.
No, I was just going to say by saying, that it's cliche but expected. It makes it more normal to go on to somewhere like that and fawn, plug.
Exactly. It's like when a writer has a book tour. He goes to all these different places and finds the books. When that book comes out, that's a lot of work that's gone into that book.
Like Mark Gober recently.
Eli, why do you think that is? Just curious. The last statement you
people
made.
like familiarity. So seeing your favourite celebrity on the circuit because he's promoting his new film, promoting his new TV series, promoting his new book, that's normal. So it's kind of just what's expected.
No, I think Chocolate's asking Eli, why are they tired of that nonsense that they're hearing? Because they're hungry for truth right now. Now's the time to strike.
Well, there's only so many times that you can hear. Just a second. There's only so many times that you can hear that. Let's just say that alien spacecraft landed somewhere, or blah blah blah. And people eventually are going to ask for, give us some cowbell on all this, because there's only so many stories. Because that's all David Weiss and them are giving them is stories. They're not giving them measurement. So people are looking for something. Okay, we've heard all that. Now prove it. That's basically what's going.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. And so people, they're just wondering, in the back of their minds, they're like, I know there's something more. And then I come on the Killer Priest podcast and I represent the arguments from Celestial Navigation and the Black Swan. And they're like, where the hell does this come from? And I'm like, yo, come over to the Nathan Oakley 1980 show. So that's the first time they tasted it. So they're like, this is the real stuff. We've been given the garbage stuff. See, it's more appetizing now because the garbage is out there.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Nathan, when the book comes out, are you at dinner parties that you're now a writer?
Me?
Well, it's something you can brag about. You could get yourself some sophisticated glasses that you don't need. Tell people that you're a writer as well as a YouTuber.
Yeah, a black polo neck.
I'm going to go yes.
You might as well milk it.
But doesn't Tent Man have a book coming out also?
suspect I made mistakes. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. We should do a look back on when I went on Killer Priest podcast.
Let's review it.
Go ahead. We'll give that a treatment. Pull it up. Put it in Skype.
Treatment.
You want me to pull it up now?
Yes.
I mean, because I'd also have to find the. Give me 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is it up on your mantle? I mean, Killer Priest this, Killer Priest that, Killer Priest. And then when I went on there, we figure it was up on your mantle. You could just grab it.
No.
Aren't priests meant to heal people?
No.
Brian, you know what it's going to do? It's going to show the stark difference between what Witsit would do in that situation and what I would do in that situation, because Glover's were present.
You mean what ping pong golf ball was doing and you were doing?
Yeah.
Make sure you tune in today. We're going to be reviewing some more ping pong golf ball. And Brian. Good Lord, save us.
I'm gone.
This is going to be interesting, folks. I would tune. Did you advertise my show today, Nathan?
Yes, I did. Right at the end of the live stream, I shouted it out as the live stream was actually ending. If you know what I mean.
Thank you.
Better late than never, ever, Nathan.
Well, it came right at the end of the stream. You know, like after the outro had rolled. I think that's a good place to have it. Last thing that they'll remember.
I'm not particular about it as long as you mentioned it. Thank you.
It is. Good like that.
Wow, that's scary. That does sound like me. I didn't get paid for that.
What did Elijah say? That we came here for freezies? Is that what he said? That was pretty funny, by the way.
Yeah, along with his weeds.
He be being in the weeds.
I just listened to that video game thing. It does sound exactly like me. That's scary.
Come on, Elijah, while we're young.
We could watch the Cobra Kai thing. I think it's only 20 seconds.
Let me get out the shower, watch the Cobra Kai thing. I'm almost there.
You were talking to us in your shower?
That's gross.
That's dedication.
It's gross.
No. I've been there where I went to take a shower and I brought my phone, plugged it in because I want to still listen. And you hear something and you have to respond. The problem is you're soaking wet.
I actually only listen to this show in the shower. It's my favorite place.
So that's why we never hear from you, because you're always wet and you can't come off mute.
Well, I'm always wet, but yeah.
I can't help it, but every time somebody says shower, I think of Kramer in his shower with all his lettuce and his vegetables, and while he's getting the shower.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's trying to save time.
The best is when he gets banned from the fruit store. A lot of dead air right now.
Yeah, I love it. Every second drives Nathan absolutely crazy.
You're gonna get a with that soon.
I'm playing a game. I'm all right.
Today's video that we reviewed, Data Time, we had a conversation with Will Duffy recently as well. So that's a video for the future, if you've got nothing to cover.
Who had a conversation with Will Duffy?
Data Time, the host of today's video that we reviewed.
When is this thing taking place anyway? Wasn't it supposed to happen already?
Well, Conspiracy Tunes appeared on my suggested feed. I didn't watch the video, but he appeared to have a camera in somewhere that looked like it could be close to Antarctica, and he was referencing it, and he was whinging about flat earthers and what they're whinging about. I didn't really pay too much attention, but that could be the start of it.
But it's supposed to take place on a certain date, correct? This final not experiment.
Excrement, I don't know.
Isn't that coming up soon? It's December already.
That's what I said. It's December 3rd. I thought they'd be there by now.
Really? Damn.
Hold on. Let me ask what's its agent. AI. What's going on with that? Come on, that was a good one.
You know, it's not a good one when you got to tell everyone it's a good one.
Wow, that was a good one. Just nobody acknowledged it because everybody's afraid.
I didn't hear it. What did you say?
We were talking about the final excrement, and these guys said it's December 3rd. I said, yeah, aren't they supposed to be there? What's it's going? Let me ask his agent. AI, what's going on with that?
You don't know if he left.
You say he left?
He left right about then.
Yeah, that clears it up. Come back with that, but a little slower and a little more audible. What did you just say?
I said he left right after you asked him that.
That was perfectly clear. Thanks.
I agree.
You roboted, boy.
Hey, Elijah, you sent me a video that's 4.5 hours long. All right.
I'm combing now.
Yeah.
I'm about
Trying to find
an
it. I'm
hour
gonna
and
go get,
37 minutes.
yeah, I'm gonna go get breakfast, so you might have to wait a few minutes.
All right. I'm almost there.
I like the confidence, Eli. Putting yourself right under QE's microscope. Hey Nathan, when you put out this Uncut and After show, do you edit all the silence?
No.
You just leave it running.
Yep.
He's on Fortnite. That's all that matters, Neil.
Until we hear Victory Royale, then we got to start worrying about with that.
When he's got that dopamine hit of killing 11-year-olds on a video game, being the best of them.
I miss Adam already.
So Adam said he's definitely not coming back. Or he's just taking a hiatus.
Both Adams are gone. The price of Adam is not here either.
Where did Adam Aiken go?
Oh yeah, okay, let's see it.
Hey, you remember that guy that just walks into the middle of a conversation and doesn't know anything? He acts like a child, asking questions about everything.
Yeah.
You mean Eli?
No. In this case, it's me. Is Adam Meekin okay?
We don't know yet.
Adam's fine. Just not
Let's
going
not
to hear
talk
from him
about it.
again till Christmas.
As long as he's okay, that's all I care about.
Brian, were you here for the whole show, or you just came in later on?
Came in late, Nate.
You must go back and listen to the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Did anybody hear what I said about altitude being measured from the vertical and elevation measured from the horizontal?
I did not. Go on.
I mean, I ain't saying that there's explicitly defined that way now, but that would be a good way to make a distinction between the two. Like with something's altitude, it's not is not connected to the ground, so you measure from the vertical. And something's height or elevation would be part of the ground or attached to it, so you'd measure from the horizontal.
I think I got you.
So refracted. Why was Johnny so adamant about Nathan using circles of equal elevation rather than circles of equal altitude when explaining it?
Well, because you have to use elevation there because it's, you're talking about with respect to the flat plane, right? Not with respect to the sky, which, either one's fine, really, but you want to get hyperkinetic.
Has anybody heard from that guy, Johnny? I haven't seen him in a while.
Are you talking about the shrimp boat captain?
Yeah, Johnny Hartman or something.
Said he was just popping out to get
He
cigarettes.
went back.
He said he'd be right back.
I thought I was going to say he went to Biola Battery, Alabama.
That he was QE's favorite.
You're trying to trigger QE to give a response, aren't you? Hey, I didn't get a chance to go back and watch the video yet, but in the after show yesterday, did anybody ever catch on to what I said to Nathan, or did y'all just let that go?
What'd you say? Remind me.
I said, would these people be cancer?
Oh, they're definitely cancer. Anybody that's promoting that as some sort of good thing that's happened, I have to question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'll just let it be me and Nathan's inside joke from now on, I guess.
You're talking about the Patricia here and what's his name, right? Mark.
I don't know. If I have to explain it, it ain't funny. You know what I mean? It was funny at the moment, but no, it's like everybody was too upset to get it.
Right, are you reviewing that video with Mark and Patricia once you've seen all of Whitsitt's debate with Tim Paul and so and so?
We have now.
Yeah, we've been going over it.
Does it change the context of the Patricia and Mark interview if we have watched all of the Whitsitt debate?
You're talking about this like it didn't just happen yesterday, and we did cover Mark and Patricia. And yeah, it did change the context subtly.
Oh, sorry, I was at work yesterday. I haven't caught up. My bad.
Did the Witcher
changes it
pull
a
it out
lot.
in the end? I missed the review. Did Witcher pull it out in the end?
No, and it makes it all the more the worse. It does change it.
So when we were being told that the last 30 minutes, the last hour of that was going to be specifically about flat Earth, it wasn't.
He just dropped in various flat Earth buzzwords at various different points, but it wasn't like he'd put them together as a rebuttal to certain points that it had, for example, put to him in the opener from Astronomy Live, or anything like that. He just dropped in words like elevation angle. So, in a way, you can say without lying, oh, well, I said those things. Well, yeah, you did, but in the middle of a long, very fast-spoken statement that didn't really make it conclusory for anybody listening. But yes, in some matter-of-fact way, he did say those words at some point.
He never hammered them down. Never, like Huey says, dropped anchor and broke it down for people. He just said it in passing. So if you want to consider that good, then I got to question you.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
The word I heard the most was electromagnetism.
There you go. That explains
You
it
know,
all.
that's a shame. You know, like I was really pulling for him. I was because when he did something good, I was one of the first ones to like cheer for it.
When was that?
It was a response to somebody. I can't remember exactly now, and you put me on the spot, so it seemed like there wasn't one. But there was a couple of points where he shut him down.
If you have to think about a 2-hour video for the points that he really did good on, then there's a problem.
Oh, definitely. I ain't saying there's not a problem, Neil. I'm just saying that it's not like I'm being biased because I don't like the guy. You know.
Yeah, and I get that, and we all get that. It has nothing to do with like or dislike. Nothing to do with it. It's what you say when you're supposedly representing us as flat earthers. And all you talk about is, what did the guy say? All he heard was electromagnetism.
I tell you, the only coherent points I heard Witsit make or be allowed to make was when he was stating a claim they make. And he'd be interrupted or the subject would change. He was only allowed to put in their claim.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Happy Boxing Day if you're watching this as a member of the general public. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.